right. Well, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself?
I'm gonna introduce myself.
Sure.
No, this
Oh,
is
come
your
on.
show.
You got to do the Bob Rumba thing. Okay, fine. Hi, my name's Landon Harvey. Welcome to Landon Live, and this is Bob Rumba.
Hi, how are you? Ta-da!
Bob, tell
All right,
everyone.
so what are we starting off with today?
Tell
Whoa,
everyone.
that was fun.
Thank you guys for tuning in. All right.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell everyone all the different things that you do as a performer? Because you're not just a ventriloquist. You're also a. What all do you
Oh,
do?
I do impressions. I do balloons. I juggle. I am a Hollywood lookalike. What else? I forget everything. Audience participation.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You do balloons. Yeah.
Balloon sculpture. Yeah. As
High
PZ
end
says,
balloons.
high end balloons. So I'm not just making like stick dogs.
No.
So
All
no.
right. Cool. All right. So why don't you go ahead and tell us how you got into showbiz? And as you used to be called Showbiz Bob, right?
I used to be vaudeville Bob Rumba
Vaudeville
actually,
Bob, right? Okay.
but
So how'd you get into showbiz?
but because people don't know what vaudeville is, they got rid of that. A lot of people really don't know what vaudeville is anymore, so that's kind of where that went. I gotta fix this. Why did this go wacky all of a sudden? This stand it was working perfect till we went on the air. Weird. All right. Hmm. Anyway, it's being bad. How did I get started in show business?
What's the issue with it? You might have to turn it, I think, to the right to have it. If the top screws on, that might be the issue.
What do you mean if it turned it to the right?
Like, what does the stand look like?
Well, you could do it this way, but usually you put it in on the sideways, and then what happens is the stand goes the other way. But I thought I had you can't just put it on. You can't put it down on the table because if you do that, it doesn't stay on the table. You know what I mean? It slides.
Right.
What I should do, maybe there's a thing here. I'm going to try this. I have a new method I've just invented. There, that works. Then I can go back this way because I think it's better up and down than it is the other way. Is it not? Do you have? Well, you don't have that choice because you're on
I'm
a
on a
computer.
I'm on a laptop, but yeah, you should be good if you
Yeah.
like where it is right now is good, but you got to get it,
Okay.
got to tilt it more to your kitchen.
It's tilted more towards.
Yeah, right there
Yeah.
is great. Welcome, Candy Rhodes and Ann Seaton.
Who's here?
Candy Rhodes and Ann Seaton, and we have some other people. We got
Okay.
13 people watching so far. All right, so I'll you know prop it over the buck, said Ron Shearer. Shearer. So go ahead and tell us how you got into showbiz. What's your high school story, and then how you got transitioned into where you are now?
Oh, I had a in school. I always did impressions and stuff all through school and everything. But I also had an English teacher, Bill Wayman, who helps get a lot of people started in the business. But I think he put me on my first real play when I was like in junior high school.
Oh wow!
To get the feel of it, and then I was in the class. He was the first one in this area to do a high school musical. Like now, it's the commonplace. Like all the high schools have high school musicals. They use their bands and everything else. It's a big deal.
Mm,
And they even have an award now for that in the area
really?
where they give away awards to the best high school musical. I don't know who goes and watches all of them,
Yeah.
but yeah. Um, and then after I got out of high school, I did. Well, he started community theater. Actually, he was in this area with the West Hill Symphony Band orchestra, and I was in that. And that was the first one of those too. It's kind of I was in a bunch of these first,
Yeah.
And so I knew him through junior high. I had him as an English teacher in junior high school, so I knew him through there, through high school, through after that even. So
Sure.
yeah, right.
So you were in band in high school, or was that?
No, I wasn't.
No,
They used the
you
band for the. They used the band for the musicals.
for the musicals.
Like
Gotcha.
now they don't do that. Now they do. There's a special thing you can do, which is almost like karaoke. It's like live karaoke.
Right.
Karaoke so they can have a full orchestra, and they can control on a switchboard, on a soundboard, how everything works. But they don't do that anymore. So.
Well, I remember, even with my high school, they would occasionally have the band with certain musicals and productions, and it was like a big deal. And the attendance for the crowds were usually higher because you also had the band families and people that knew band kids were there, and then they got to see different fields of the arts. But yeah, it's neat.
Well, you know what I think is kind of cool about it is they pick a musical that's big. It has a big cast on it, or they even make the chorus bigger or whatever, so more people will come because their kids are in it. Yeah. But now I'm kind of amazed now at even what Broadway does. I mean, they do shows that have less people, or less people in an orchestra, or maybe just a piano player, and then everything is still the other way, like where they have everything pre-recorded and they run it, and people have to sing along with that.
Yeah.
There's a guy in England who sued. It cost him big money, and he said this production was posted as being a live performance, and it wasn't, because I guess his father was in the orchestra for years and years, and he sort of did it for his dad. And what happened was, he won, and he got his ticket money back, which is way less than what he spent for.
Yeah, I bet.
To take it to court. But he wanted to prove a point that you can't say, "Oh, this is a live show." Like, people don't know what they're getting then. Like, they get to have a full live orchestra, or they don't. It's just there. So it's almost like saying, "Okay, do I get a hot dog and a bun, or do I get a hot dog and a bun and relish in?"
Right.
Side kind of, so yeah.
Well, what was neat for me, and I'll never forget this because I've been to Disney World a few times in Orlando, and then I don't think they had an orchestra or anything like that. Everything was pre-recorded, but they had the Finding Nemo musical, and it was neat because you had all these puppets that were characters that were done in different ways. It was these puppeteers that were puppeteering these giant fish puppets. They had head sticks underneath them that were in spray painted black or whatever, and so they could puppeteer the fish, but then they could control the eyes. And I'm like, oh, that's like a hard figure with the head stick, and it was neat seeing that. And then you had the bigger ones where it was like the shark, and it's really neat. So you were in theater, and
I wonder if they could show the Little Mermaid one like that too. They did a Little Mermaid one too like that, where it looks like fish are swimming by, and they're not. They're just like puppets on a stick or whatever, and it looks so good. It's like that bird in as a ventriloquist, wouldn't you love to have the bird in The Lion King? I don't even know that bird's name.
Oh yeah, I don't either. I lost it, but you're talking about the puppet. It's amazing.
The puppet is so great because you can make it look like it's flying.
Yeah.
Like the way the head moves.
It's not. You operate from beneath the head because it's like a two-part operation. So you operate the body, which there's like a control stick like near the feet for that, and then which allows you to create the wingspan of the bird, and then you've got the actual like mouth, and I think it blinks, but it's beautiful. I was going to mention that too.
You know what? I think one of the greatest ones ever was the one that when I was doing the voice lecture for the Lands for Scott and Lisa Land out in Vegas,
Yeah.
he had a talking sock, and they let me use it, but it didn't go on your hand like this. It had all them. It was really like a hard puppet. It was like a hard figure with the sock over it.
Wow.
As the skin. So there's pictures of me. I think I put pictures of it up because I loved it so much.
And it had little eyebrows, didn't it?
Yeah, little eyebrows, and it had hands that you could work, and then this thing came out of the back. It was like a gun almost. It came at the end of the thing and then you worked it like that, and then the mouth, you could twist this little thing on the back, so his mouth didn't just go up and down. He could talk out of the side of his mouth. Because I loved it. I'd be like, "Hey, you know what?" And put the hand up. And it would go, oh my God. And I'm like, God, if I had one of these, how would I use it? Because as a ventriloquist, you wouldn't be able to talk to it because it would be in front of you.
Right.
You wouldn't be able to go back and forth. But if you're on a stage and you want to dim the lights in the back and put it down like he's a stand-up comic and put a little spotlight on him and give him a little microphone, it would be cool.
Yeah, it would.
But yeah.
Isn't that what they did with Topo Gigio? Or did they do something else with him?
Topo Gigio is run by people. It was blacklight. So he's in front of a black background, and then people are hooded and they work them. They can make him walk. They actually move his little feet and they move his hands. Yeah, and then his mouth, and so he could blink and do all sorts of things.
So you did theater and plays and musicals in middle school,
high
and then
school,
and
middle school through high school,
through high school, right?
And then I went to community theater, and after that, now since you've done this community theater thing, now you could go to actual regular legitimate theaters, and I have done these shows, and I was probably 18 or 19 then.
Wow.
I was like as old as you, and you could walk into a theater and go, I can do this, and so I ended up doing other theaters, like so you do Showboat. I think it was Rubberface Smith and Showboat. I played a lot of other characters. I played the captain of the ship and whatever. I think I was big on W.C. Fields, and so.
So what led you to being a solo act?
I dressed up like him and did the captain. What?
What had led you to be a solo act?
Oh, because doing the theaters, I met Gorman Lowe, he was a singer and he was really funny, and he was fat. So I went to a cast party, and it was a show that was done by the community theater group that I had been in. They did Your Good Man Charlie Brown, and I went to see it, and they booked him to do Schroeder, which is really funny because he's huge. Like he's a big guy, So, and we're at this cast party. And I didn't really know him, and people were getting up and doing stuff. And I said, you and I should do Laurel and Hardy. And he really didn't know a lot about Laurel and Hardy, but I sort of talked through it. And we just did it. And people were like on the floor. Like, I did think, I go, what we have to do is you and I will talk. I think I had some kind of dialogue I told him, and we did. And I said, fall down, and then I will try to pick you up, help you up, and then what I'll do is I'll fall on you, and then we'll we rolled around, but like all over, and people couldn't take it. Then there's another party at the end of the show, and they go, you guys have to come to the party and do that again. And then we became a comedy team because they put us in variety shows. And we sang like Laurel and Hardy did that. And then when I went to Chicago, he went with me. We put that as part of our act, but we would do other things too. In fact, that was the act we used to have, which it'd be great to do at this convention, but there's nobody that can do it. But they'd say, here they are, Rumba and Low, and he would pick me up and carry me on the stage like I was a dummy. And I wore
Oh,
one of
wow.
those little sailor hats like Donald Duck wears, the
Mhm.
little round hats,
Yeah.
and go like this.
Oh,
And
that's
people go,
great.
wow, that's a good looking dummy. And then he yeah, and then they go, wait, that's a real guy. And then he would put his foot up on a chair
Oh, man.
and I would sit on his leg. And then he would drink water and he'd say,
Uh-huh.
oh, before I get started, because I'm a ventriloquist, I have to clear my throat. I need a sip of water. And he would take a sip of water, and then I would hold water in my mouth that whole time, and I would spit it out.
That's
it
great. Oh, man.
was pretty funny, and
Yeah.
that's how we started like that, and then would go into whatever else. We did all sorts of, because he had a high voice, so he could do women. He did we back when they had the bicentennial, I remember, and they were doing all these bicentennial minutes with famous people.
Hmm.
So we did bicentennial with George Washington and him going to ask the lady to make the flag, ask her for the first American flag.
Hmm.
Yeah, and so I would go to him, and he did it like Zsa Zsa Gabor, and I did Poland.
Oh, wow.
She would say like, "Don't you like it? It's so much," and hold up like it was the flag, and they go, "Don't you think it's kind of busy?" And so, it was pretty funny.
That's great.
Um,
Oh,
so
man.
yeah, it was great. But then when he really missed his family and things, and
Mhm.
so he came back here, and most people don't know I was ever married, but I was married at the time, and I went through divorce. And he was a good friend. It was hard for him to watch me go through that. It was kind of tough. And then he came back. I was living in a building with Judy Tenuta and her sister Barbara. We had our own apartments in this one big building.
Mhm.
And I thought I didn't know if he just left. Like I didn't know if he's coming back, what was going on. So I actually started doing ventriloquism. I learned from the guy we did a show with. He and I had a show we hosted.
Mhm.
I did Groucho Marx. He did Margaret Dumont. We did Laurel and Hardy. He would stay there because when we would do any women or any people he did like that. If he did a woman, he would just put like clip-on earrings in, and like he didn't do makeup or anything.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean? He would just sort
Mhm.
of put on little whatever it took to give that illusion. It's sort of like when we did Laurel and Hardy. We didn't dress up totally like them when we did it. Unless you were working in the theater and you had time to do that.
But did you guys have other
We would
bits
just
that
wear
you did with
hats.
that, or what? Like, did he not put on makeup so he could go to the next character afterwards, or was it just that
Yeah,
one bit in that
right.
show?
Well, in that show, since we were hosting it, you had more time
Mhm.
to change outfits
And
and
costume,
stuff.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
like I did Inspector Clouseau, so I had time to put on a mustache and all that
Right.
kind of stuff. Yeah.
Wow.
So right, and he would stay there and put on little things, and then when we were here in Pittsburgh and we started doing stuff like that, because he sang. For me to change outfits or whatever, he could sing a song. He could sing a couple of songs by
Oh,
himself,
neat. Yeah.
with a piano player and fill time,
Mhm.
or do stand up, So
Yeah.
it was kind of cool.
Wow. So what was
Yeah.
so you went from being in a two-man group with him to performing by yourself. What was the transition like for that? And then what was your first, what did you do? Were you a comic? Were you a ventriloquist? Were you a balloon twister? What did you do
I didn't
first?
do balloons
Impressionist?
for years later. I didn't do balloons
Oh,
for a
okay.
long, long time. So
Yeah.
yeah, I did. I went. I had a zillion puppets when I was a kid, and people always said, "Oh, when you grow up, you're going to be a ventriloquist." And I'm like, okay, and I had no idea what that's a big word for a kid though. Like you
Yeah.
don't know what the hell they're talking about. And then I would see Edgar Bergen and Sherry Lewis and people on different shows, and they'd say, he talks for him or he's doing that voice, and I'm like, okay, because you know what I mean? You're a kid,
Right.
you're a little
Sure.
kid, you don't know. And then I remember them giving me this. I think I told this the other day. They gave me this old book. It looked like something older than Harry Potter books. Like
Oh,
there's
wow.
these huge books, and it said fun for boys, and it was for Boy Scouts, I think. Boy Scouts or Cub Scouts, and it had all these different chapters of things you can do. And one chapter was how to be a ventriloquist. One chapter.
Wow.
And it told you how to do different letter substitutions and all this other stuff. And I was amazed by that, but I still couldn't quite get it. Like, so by the time I was up to being 20, 21 at that point, and doing shows with Gorman out in Chicago, when we did this thing with Roger Burgett was the ventriloquist, and I could do the voice of his little guy Zeke. So after we do the show, I'd go out and do that, and I'd be like, "Hey, how are you?" And do the whatever the voice it was. I don't even remember his voice, but it was a pressed voice, like you learn
Sure.
from Mayor's Studios, like when you first one of those. Hey, how you doing? Yeah, okay. One of those kind of voices.
Right.
So,
Sure.
yeah, so I could do it, but I didn't know where I was doing. I could just
Goof
hear it
around. Yeah.
reproduce it. And he said,
Wow.
but where you're placing that in order to do it, you could be a ventriloquist. And I'm like, really? So what happened? So I said, I always wanted to do that. And he wanted to learn to juggle. So we traded. Like I taught him how to juggle.
Yeah.
And he taught me ventriloquism. And then he had a little Jerry Mahoney, sort of like Harold Crocker has. He had
really?
one just like that, and he lent it to me to practice on.
Wow.
So I learned it, and I could do it in about 3 weeks. I had it down. I could do it, and
wow. So what is your method?
But I didn't really have an act. So I appreciated him lending it to me because I knew he had it since he was a little kid.
Yeah.
And I took it to a thrift shop and I dressed it all up and gave it back in better clothes than he gave it to me in.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm going to lend you stuff more often. And I'm like, okay. And then I bought a Pelham puppet.
Yeah.
The ones that you've seen those with the little.
I
should have brought one. I still have mine upstairs. I still have it.
Yeah.
And I bought them and got that. Did I get it from Mike Reziminski or at Izzy Rizzy's, or I either got it there. Might have got it from Jay Marshall. It was one of the two. I don't think Jay had those. I think Mike had them at Izzy Rizzy's. I think it was like $35.
Yeah.
And then I bought I changed the clothes. I used him like he was dressed for a while, and then I got somebody to make clothes for him, so he looked like sort of like a hippie.
Yeah.
And I used to wear wire rims all the time, so I took an old pair of those and put on him, so he looked different. And parted his hair in the middle.
Yeah.
And but he didn't have arms. Those had arms that you put your hand through.
Right, like the live hand puppets. Sure.
Yeah, but he's he's tiny, and your hand looks giant.
He wasn't a half body puppet, was he?
No, he's a full body puppet.
Yeah.
That's why I put little sneakers on him, because then you can make him stand up and sit down because the sneakers weighted the feet.
Right.
Right. So, I used to sit in a chair. I never thought about the thing of giving yourself more energy by standing up, I guess, or being able to connect more. So I sat in a bar stool or on a stool, and had him in my lap, but then he could sit down and stand up in my lap.
Oh,
and
wow.
later I got trunks and stuff so that you could set him, on top of the trunk. But I just didn't put my hand through there because I thought it was too weird. So, and I like being I'm Bob, this is Oxy over here. So
right,
we're two separate entities.
Yeah,
when you put it in, you're kind of too much of the same guy. So I told people he was from Nam. that he had been in Nam and he lost his arms. I didn't have any other
Oh
explanation.
wow.
Yeah, so I did that for a while, and then when I finally, Brian Hamilton, I always wanted him to blink because they had those weird eyes, those Google eyes. I don't like
Mm,
them
yeah.
because the stage, the lights reflect on those.
Right.
So
And they're probably not focused either. Like the eyes aren't.
not
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
No, you're not. Can't really connect. So Brian Hamilton took this thing apart and he put the eyes in that you turn. They're painted on, and then when you press the levers for him to blink, they just turn down and come back up.
Right. Right. The eyelid is
So the
part of the
lids are,
actual eye.
yeah, the lid is painted on the other side of the ball. So he did that for me, and then the guy I hung out with all the time was Rick Kebdai, the guy who ended up making Waldo. I don't know if there's a picture of me and Waldo, but he was an old man puppet with a rubber face. I told people it was my dad. It
How'd
was
your
great
dad
till
like
one day my real father was in the audience.
that?
He goes, "I didn't know I was that old." He was like funny because it was like, "Hey, how are you?" You do so. What kind of, it was jokes like, there's a lady over there that wants to know if you want to have super sex. He goes, "I'll take the soup." So, yeah,
Yeah.
it's that kind of stuff I was doing. So, yeah, he was, and he looked real. He really looked real because that was done like on clay. Well, no. It was supposed to look like me originally. He made a plaster cast of my face, and he said, "Bob, I can't
Wow.
get this with teeth and everything. I can't get it to look like you." So he just put a big brush, like a walrus mustache, and hair around the sides, and he put real glass eyes in there.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool because it really
So it
looked
was a
real. Like he
latex
used
head,
this.
but it had like the like hard figure aspects, kind of with the glass eyes and the realistic wig, and
Well, he didn't have a wig. He just had hair that was sewn out of the head, the
oh
latex
wow,
head.
oh
Yeah,
cool.
so it stuck out the back,
Hmm.
and so did the mustache was like that also.
Wow.
And then what was cool about it was you could rub your fingers across because since it was made out of a mold. He made a mold, so from
Right. It's all one
my
piece.
face. Yeah, so you could rub your fingers across the inside of the nostrils, and it looked like he was breathing.
Oh
Like,
wow.
yeah, because the latex rubber when you put it across the mustache would move a little bit, and then
Oh
when you talk to people, they go, "Whoa!" Like it was really
wow.
like you walk around, it was great because
Yeah,
you
I
could be
bet.
right on top of people. Looked really good. Then his
Wow.
arms and legs, he did a padded body, like I think sort of like what Axel uses now, like
Mhm.
it's like a pad,
Sure.
but it had a thing so you could put your hand up through it and then put it on your hand after.
Right.
But I had all the and you dress them however. But the cool part of it was he used to make marionettes, so the arms and the legs were had the joints of a marionette. So he had
Oh
all so it could move. So you could if he was sitting down on it on your trunk or table, whatever,
yeah.
if you wanted to, you could say help him up, and but you could actually just move your arm up, and he could stand up and sit down that way.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
So he had a lot of different aspects just built in the puppet that kept it alive.
It really alive. Yeah,
Yeah.
like you could probably just suck as a ventriloquist and kill with that thing because it was so lifelike.
Yeah.
Could have been me, I don't know, but not. That was an easy. That's actually that breathy voice is an easy voice to do. I think that's why a lot of people use it for old people because
Hmm.
most people can do that voice. That I don't know. Yeah. Okay. So yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I didn't at the time. Was never around a lot of other ventriloquists for quite a while, so I didn't really know, like, oh, a ton of people do this voice, where I probably never would have done it because I hate being like other people. But yeah, it was pretty fun
So cool. So
doing
you had the
those.
Pelham puppet, and then you had the older character that you
The
kind of
two
started
for
with.
the two puppets I started with
Yeah.
was Oxy the the little hippie guy, and I had a O2. I think Judy named most of my puppets. Judy Tenuta, because we lived in the same. Afterwards, we got like she and her sister and I all lived in one apartment. Like we all had our own bedrooms. We were like Three's Company.
Right. Right.
So yeah. So yeah, she named him Oxygen. I don't know why, but it was funny because he seemed like a college student or something. So we had this shirt made with O2 on it. So there's pictures of it around. I think you've probably seen it someplace. But yeah, and then I bought a rabbit. I bought it from George Schindler, who had Showbiz Services, and it was a half puppet. The eyes on it were really cool because they were made of vinyl, like, but they're really big, and they put like a fabric or something behind them so they stood out more, like it would be black around it. Looked really cartoony with a little pink ping pong nose or whatever, and it had teeth like that, vinyl teeth. But Rick Kebdite took the legs, put legs on it for me. He carved them out of balsa wood just like he would a marionette. So he put them into the things that would have hips. So your arm went all the way up the middle and it cut it off, and then it has a leg on each side. That way you could make him stand up and sit down. And then it had ankles too. It had so it had a knee joints and ankle joints, both. Yeah. And then it had big bumps in the bottom. That was really cool. And then he made me it was like a milking stool. It was round with 3 legs.
Yeah.
And you'd bring the stool out, and then you'd bring the rabbit out, and then you'd because his butt would be like where your elbow would be.
Right.
So he could sit on that, and then stand up and sit down. Yeah.
Oh wow, that's.
Yep. I used to bring girls out of the audience to do pregnancy tests and have them tell them if they were pregnant or not. I was in a comedy club. You could do whatever you want.
Sure. Yeah.
So you'd go, nope, you're good. Yeah. So yeah, he was like my stupid character.
Damian James is asking, was Emo Phillips going out with Judy at the time?
Judy and Emo and I, the 3 of us, all did shows together. Judy and I started in comedy clubs before Emo did. In fact, Judy and we were with other comedians, and we would do colleges together. There would be 6 of us, and we'd all go out and do a college. And I remember doing Emo's college. He was in some improv group at the time. It was before he was a stand-up. So we performed for him before that. Then later he came along.
Wow. So you during this time you did comedy clubs with as just strictly ventriloquism, and or did you do?
I did impressions. My act was I would have people call out different impressions, and I would do them, and Oxy would sit in my lap, and after I do the impression, he'd go, "Well, that sucked." You know what I mean? He'd like heckle me.
Oh, that's great. So you had a heckler on.
Yeah, in my lap, and I'd go, "Could you just let me do this, please?" And he would, and it was really pretty good. And a lot of people, after I got rid of him, they go, "I liked him. Why did you get rid of him?" But I replaced him when John Irvita said, "You should have a little boy figure," because I was using, before I even did Darby that looks like me, I had Brian Hamilton had made Quentin. I think somebody told me he originally made him. He originally made him for Johnny Main, actually, and Johnny Main didn't like him, and he learned it from the McElroy. So it's all set up like a McElroy figure.
Can you tell our audience what Quentin is and a little bit about
Quentin's an ape.
Yeah.
He's an ape. He's like a gorilla-looking thing. He has uh, the the McElroys have a thing, so it's not just like a head on a stick. It let's
It's like a
see.
typewriter, kind of.
Yeah, that all is you work it, but so you don't have to float the head, or it's not a ball and socket where the head fits in the thing.
Right.
There's a metal piece that goes like a U shape, and there's a metal piece that goes down and comes up, and that long piece goes into the pole, and that is your control stick sits on that. So because they're really heavy, they have so many mechanics in it, it would be impossible for you to float the head above the body to get all the movement you need out of it. So it sits in there and it floats it for you.
Yeah.
And it has everything on it.
I heard
it's like the tongue sticks out, the upper lip goes out, the ears wiggle, everything. So
yeah, I heard the McElroys were just out of. I'd heard that the McElroy brothers were just out of high school when they started. So it's truly amazing.
I don't know how old they were when he learned from them, because he was young.
Yeah.
He was in his 20s when he was making those, and that's a fiberglass figure.
Yeah.
With a leather lip and leather eyelids. Yeah, kind of cool. And I made him. I think Planet of the Apes was still going on around then, or I had it in my head, so I actually made him sound sort of British, but not really, because I don't. Even though Roddy McDowell is in that, and he's from there, I don't think he sounds British. Like, I don't think he's, it's not like, how are you? He doesn't have that
it's not
voice.
Like evident enough, right?
Right. So I gave him a sort of a hello. His voice is like that, sort of. He sounds a little bit like Cary Grant, a little bit. I don't know, maybe, but I gave it a
kind
little
of like Michael Caine.
Maybe, yeah. Funny, actually. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he worked. He was cool. I actually worked for the Lincoln Park Zoo a couple of times doing walk around with him.
Wow.
Yeah, somebody thought I should have my own show like that. Somebody wanted to give me my own zoo show where I would talk about different animals every week and take him with me.
Yeah.
That's a cool idea. I'm sure after this, somebody will have a show like that, and we'll go, they must have watched this podcast.
Yeah, it must have been a viewer. So you had Quentin, and then had you used him? Was it were you trying to find a figure that was more suitable for your actor? Or was Quentin, you just had a bit for him, and then you kind of set that to the side when you had gotten?
He had made Quentin already.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't made for me.
Right.
So that was made for Johnny, I guess. Somebody told me. I think John Arvidas knew it was for Johnny Main, and Johnny didn't like it, or it cost too much, or so. I don't know. It was cheap for me because he needed money, and I didn't really have the money for it either. I was working at Sally's Stage, and that's a house comic, so I thought it was great to have. But I also, at the little bit of magic that I worked at the time, I had a guy that was a fan of mine that had some money, and he gave me a couple $100 to put towards it.
Wow.
And he said, all I want to do is see you work it in this club. That'll be your payback. Like, I want to see you do it here.
Wow.
So, I mean, yeah. People always talk about me and all this stuff that people give me. Like, I get given so many things. I'm so blessed with what I get. So that was really a pretty cool thing.
The Rumba reward.
Yeah, the Rumba Rewards Club.
Yeah.
I don't even give out cards even. I should have started doing that, plastic cards.
Well, that's neat. So you went from there, and then today you've got a plethora of different puppets, both hard figures and soft puppets, that you use for different things. Like you have Safari Bob, right?
Safari Bob Worldwide Animal Guide.
Yeah.
And that's when I did Camp South Lake Mall. I did it with Dave Hickey, or Dave Devon, what he went by then. And he was a comedy magician. And then, he wanted to learn ventriloquism. He took one lesson from me. He goes, this is too hard. I'm just hiring you to do puppets for me. So I'm like, okay. So they would have shows in this mall and they had a set that had like a fake camp thing, like a plug-in fire camp. You know what I mean? I
Oh
always thought
wow.
it was funny. It's like it looked like there was flames, but I think you could see the cord that you plugged it in to make the flame go. Anyway, yeah, and he would talk to the puppets, and we had the bear that we had the axle. We used a lot of axle puppets on that, and the axle puppets were new. Then later, after Dave was sort of half in show business and became the president of this company, um, he gave me all those puppets. So I have a bunch of the Axel puppets we used to work with. Because he said, you're the only one that really needs these. Like, you can use these in your act.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah. And I did it a little bit on stage here and there, but I really started using it when I came back here in Pittsburgh, and I was working for Pittsburgh Puppet Works, and they booked you in different little schools and libraries, kinder cares, and all that stuff that I wasn't used to doing. So I actually came out in a safari outfit and actually talked about different puppets, and I was like those people that bring out live animals on
Yeah.
stage, but they were all puppets, and they could talk back, and they could talk about where they're from. And I had a globe, so it would show them what part of the world they were from, and a big map. You know, yeah, it's funny.
So did you have other
Pretty funny.
shows aside from that? Like you had, did you develop the show as people would call you to do things, and you said, "Oh yeah, I have a puppet for that," or I'll have one made because I'll probably end up doing more shows like that in the
Well,
future.
I had this thing, and I always wanted to do it. I still would like to do it. I think I'd like to do it with somebody else because I think it would be to do a show that's a couple hours long. And I've been, not that I haven't never been on stage by myself straight for 2 hours. I could do it,
Hmm.
but if you did to do it a bunch of nights in a row, it would kill you.
Right.
So you know what I mean? It'd be too stressful.
Yeah.
And Bob Nelson, I don't know if a lot of people out there if they know who Bob Nelson is. He's the guy that used to do my shoulder pads. He would do balloons in his shoulders, so he would look like a football player.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I talked to him when he was working in Pigeon Forge, and they built a set for him just like his HBO special with all these doors on it, so he could go in and out of doors and be different people. And he said, Bob, if I could afford it, if more people were coming to my show and I could afford it, I would hire you to be here with me because this is killing me to do all these characters and run around. And he put so much into a show. It was
Right.
rough. And I talked to Jonathan Fredis, Mitch the Clown, and he and I talked about doing a calendar show together too, because I wanted to do a show where each character, you do something for every holiday.
Sure.
Sort of like Holiday Inn, or what's the other one? One's with Bing Crosby and Fred Astaire, and the other one's with Bing Crosby and Danny Kaye. They're
Mhm.
kind of different, but they have some of the same songs. But it's a holiday thing. So, yeah, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to do a comedy show like that, which I never saw anybody do. It's all music and stuff. So,
Right.
but I thought, wouldn't it be cool to have a show like that, and then have I know I would never be able to afford the girl that comes out and pulls the cards off. You know, it's like all scantily clad.
Right.
You know, the next holiday will be. But yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to do. But you know what? I did buy these characters. I have an Axel Turkey. I have Seamus, the little leprechaun that Kristen Peterson made,
Mhm.
so that I could do St. Patrick's Day, and then later I used him for I had different outfit for him so he could be an elf.
Oh wow.
And then I used I had Verna make the reindeer, my reindeer that was Randolph the reindeer that is a drummer.
So
I did
can
them
you
in
kind of,
nightclubs, obviously. You don't do something like that for kids. So
how
I
was
played
the
in a burlesque show,
yeah.
like Sugar Babies, like like Jeff was in.
Uh-huh.
But I had to do more. Like Jeff had the one shot he would go out where I had a Groucho slot by myself. I had a ventriloquist slot by myself.
Sure.
And then I played different characters in that. And I had to play a drunk. And I got a good write up for being a drunk, but that's how I developed the character. And then when I had the idea of having the reindeer that is a drunk
Mm-hmm.
because of his red nose and everything,
Yeah.
and had Verna make it, I just took that character that I had been doing in that show and put it all into the reindeer.
That's great.
Like it's already developed in me, and then you just put it over there.
Yeah. Yeah, I love
Yeah,
that.
it's
Then
all
you get to do
done.
the character whenever you want, for the most part.
And that character was all developed before the puppet was even finished.
Which is how it
Like,
usually should be.
oh my God, it's so much easier if you have everything written
Have
out,
the
the
idea,
characters there.
character,
Yeah,
the
you're all
voice.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
To our audience viewing live on Facebook, comment below in the comments if you have any questions. I believe the comments from my
Do we
page.
have people on here? Do we have
We
people
do.
watching us or
We've
no?
got
Do we?
we've got some people on here,
Three?
and we have
Three people?
we've got none, but we're getting there. We've got let's see, in World Vents, Mary says hi, Bob. Mary Havens said hi, Bob, and
Hello. Pinky wave.
just checking because I
We
don't
got
think it'll
good.
show the comments. I think it only shows the comments that are on that come in through my page. But
Yeah,
yeah.
I can't see them.
So
You
can
have
you
to tell
talk a
me.
little bit about? Can you share a little bit with our audience about who Verna Finley is, or was, and her impact? Because you have some of the best Verna characters that I've seen created.
Verna Finley came to the convention. There was another lady, and I don't remember her name. Lester Marshall, who is a ventriloquist who is no longer with us, always liked this lady, and she came to the convention and sold these beautiful puppets. Nobody had met anything like that. I mean, it was totally amazing.
What do you
And
remember the price point that she was selling them for?
Well, I don't remember
No,
because that's a different time period.
sure. I was
But
just curious.
it was up there. It had to be like 500 and up. It had
Sure.
to be.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's like
Was that a
in the
fair
80s.
was that a fair
That's
price
like
at the
in the
time with
80s
what other
though.
people were selling? Right.
Nobody had puppets like that, so it didn't matter. She got whatever she asked for him, she
Steve
got. This lady
Axtell.
got because
Steve Axtell's asking, was it Bev Sipperly?
I think so. I don't
Okay.
remember her name though, really, but she's a tall woman. Anyway, Verna found out because she was buying them from Verna. Verna's selling them for a price, and then she's going there and selling them, and Verna found out, and she said, no, this is like way more than what, so
Yeah.
so she got rid of her, and she started coming herself
Wow.
and doing it. Yeah.
But Verna Finley is or was a puppet builder that the kind of so there weren't really soft puppets before Verna in the vent
The
for Vent.
Muppets asked her to work for them, and she didn't want to
Wow.
build puppets for them. Nobody
Yeah.
knows that. She told me that herself. She goes, they wanted me to work for them. I don't want to do it. Because she wanted to make what she wants to make. She doesn't want to work under somebody else, and they say, okay, make this.
Yeah,
Like
I love that. She wanted to
she would
hold
do
her
that for people in the
creativity.
convention. Yeah, she wanted to make it hers. She used to make great stuff for me simply because I would come there and I'd say, I don't like to be like anybody else. I always like strive not to be like other people. So
Sure.
I came to her and I would say, did anybody ever ask you for one of those before? Like the drunk reindeer. I go,
Mm-hmm.
does anybody ask you to make one of those before? She goes, Bob, nobody asked me for the stuff that you asked me for. She goes, I like making stuff for you because it's not like what everybody else asks for. And she said, I'm so tired of making old men and old women because everybody asks for making old people. Because I think everybody's working in old folks' homes. A lot of people were doing those.
Yeah.
That's a good market, I guess. If you don't mind, not I don't know. The few I've done, I didn't get paid right away. That's all I know.
Yeah.
Sometimes they didn't pay you for a month or something. Even if you
Yeah.
put a contract out that said I should be paid upon completion of performance,
Hmm.
they're like, gee, we never got a check. Sorry. We'll get it to you though. We will.
Right.
I go, you
So what
better.
Verna?
I'm taking this wheelchair. I don't.
Yeah, and I still experience that today, where they have to go up the board and cut you the check, and then you'll get it in like 3 or 4 weeks, and then it's a month later, and you get it,
Yeah,
and you're like, what was this from? What other? So you had Randolph, who was your reindeer character that Verna built, and it
yeah,
lit up its nose too.
yeah. I think
Yeah,
her husband fixed that because she wasn't into putting electronics in there, an electrical thing. But yeah, it has a thing so you hit it. Yeah, because I had him hiccup and his nose would light up.
yeah. So
I
what
don't
other
do it that
characters
much
of
anymore
hers
because
did you
people have
have?
a thing. Like, you know how everything has to be PC now, so you really have to pick the right place to have a
Right.
drunk character.
Yeah.
That's why I was amazed when um, Pete had what was that Conrad Hartz that made that Irish character for him? It was a drunk though. It was
Yeah, that
cool.
was Conrad Hartz. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it was
Great
cool, and it was
character.
supposed to be a drunk, but I'm like, I don't know. I have trouble doing a drunk now. Like where do you do a drunk? Like people aren't allowed to
Well, and
even
it's also the
like.
times you don't really see it as much in anything.
No, you don't,
You
because
know.
you'll get a
Yeah.
traffic ticket if you drive like that. And,
Yeah.
right. So yeah, it doesn't exist as much. In fact, even in
I mean,
movies,
there's
which you don't hardly
Jeff,
even see, the movies they used to have people be drunks.
right? Jeff's got his character Bubba J, and he's a drunk, but it's a side thing to the character. It's not solely what the character's based on. You know what I mean? Like Bubba J is like a redneck character that drinks and watches, and this, does different
Yeah, he's
things.
not the
So,
sharpest bulb on the
right,
porch
right. But
anyway.
what I'm
So
saying is that it's not like solely just a drunk character. Like he has other things that he talks about with it. So I
yeah, he
think
has
that's how
other.
he does it.
He,
Yeah,
but Jeff layers his characters a lot too. Like
yeah,
he doesn't just think, okay, this is like this. He puts other things in it. So
yeah. So
yeah.
what other characters did you have Verna create for you? Was Randolph the first your reindeer?
I'm trying to remember if that was the first. I don't think it was though. I can't remember. She made a lot for me.
Hmm.
Yeah. I have
You've
a
got a toad,
kangaroo that
a kangaroo, and a toad.
toad.
Yeah.
The kangaroo was Jeff's actually, and it didn't work for him. It was my idea, so he sold it to me. It's the kangaroo was a baby kangaroo. It comes out of the pouch. It's
Yeah.
kind of cool. I did a show for the guy that did was a Street Fighter for HBO. They hired me for his birthday, and when I said it in front of him. I said, I hope you guys think I'm funny because I really don't feel like any of you guys beating the crap out of me before the show's over. It's like these guys all had muscles. They all martial arts guys. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Yeah, yeah. And he was called the Giant Killer because he fought like these big guys that were 3 times his size and weight. Yeah.
Yeah.
So in fact, he broke his arm hitting a guy in the back of the neck. Like I guess he perched himself on his back, and the guy couldn't get him off, and he just kept beating him with his arm on the back of the neck till he dropped.
Wow.
And he broke his arm hitting him.
Oh,
The
man.
guy was huge on his neck. He has one of those necks, like
Right.
So yeah.
So I think this
So
is a
back
neat
to
story.
Verna, because you like to know about Verna, because
Yeah, well, I
people
think it's
don't
neat
talk
because no
about
one
her enough.
really talks about her impact. Because she kind of pioneered a soft sculpture for the vents at
For the
least.
vent community, yeah, she
Yeah,
kind of did
and
actually,
she
because
created
it was
was
a
it Big
bigger
Ed? Is
deal than those
that
little
what it is?
hand puppet things.
Right, right. It
You
was
know,
a
the
it
little
was a full body character, and that was
yes,
unique to its own thing. Now, you had her create you a character for a comedy club based off of the owner. Can you talk about
oh
that?
yeah, I did. Big Ed.
Yeah.
He went by Big Ed Hildebrand, and yeah, I thought wouldn't it be cool to have a character that looks like Big Ed, and then just like he was mean, kind of mean to people, so
Mhm.
it was cool. I would have him order the waitresses around and stuff. Tell them to clean out the ashtrays, tell this table needs help, get over here. I would like have the puppet do that on stage.
Mhm.
And I swear a lot. We'll try not to get kicked off of Facebook for me
Yeah.
swearing, but yeah, I did that, and
But
the
you got to
crazy,
stay true to the character.
yeah, right,
Yeah, yeah.
and what was funny about it was because I could kind of do his voice.
Hmm.
It looked a lot like him. I sent her pictures of him, and he would wear like a roadie jacket, the kind you like the zippery vinyl things that you wear,
Yeah.
because it had the name of the club painted on it. You know, white shirt, and he had a beard. And I had her. I never. She thought he should stand up and sit down, like that the legs should sit on a chair, and I had her make it so he stood up all the time. Like it's weird to have a character like that because it's hard to carry around.
Uh-huh.
But I had a special case for him that he could stand up in, that I could move him. But
Oh, neat.
yeah, it was pretty cool. And what happened was at the time of a comedy club, he had a comedy club. It was the first one ever in the city because he had it was a bar, and he basically catered to the industries in that area so they could come in, have sandwiches, and drink at lunchtime, and that's where he made most of his money. Then at night, whoever wants to drink and is left over, that's what he did. He didn't make that much money. So
Mhm.
Larry McManus was a comic, and he went to different places, and he tried comedy in different places because he's trying to have it in downtown Chicago. He finds this guy and puts it in there, and it goes big. It really, I think it was the first comedy club in Chicago. And Chicago was behind New York. Like
Mhm.
if you had comedy in places, it was for like one night. You know,
Mhm.
pickle barrels that existed. They had open mic one night a week. You know, and
Wow.
so yeah, that's what my partner and I used to do. When we were a comedy team, we worked all these open mic one nighter things. So
Mhm.
around the city, and anyway, so what happens? They open it up, and it's by the airport. So what happens is, anytime anybody comes in from out of town, they don't have anything to do. They go there. It was great, and it was packed most of the time. I mean, of course, on the weekends you have more people, but even during the week, it was pretty full,
Yeah.
and it was great for him. Yeah, so that's how it all started, and then what happened was as he got older, and his wife wanted to be in a warmer climate or something. I don't know, but he decided to move to Vegas. So
Oh.
he moved to Vegas, and he had this guy that worked for him that tended bar, and he said he knew him since he was a kid. He was his paper boy, and
Mhm.
yeah, it was a big deal that and I guess he knew his parents, you know. So
Yeah.
he had him take over that club, and he ran it for him, and he made more money and everything. Well, what happened was there was a lease on the club because he rented it. He didn't own it.
Mhm.
There was a lease on it. When the lease ran out, this guy took it over. Like he signed his name to it and just took it from him. So
Wow.
so he's like, oh my God. So he moves back to Chicago. Then he kicks that guy out and runs it till the lease totally runs out. In fact, I think I even have a piece of the stage that he signed for me because they took the little platform that you stand on. They
Yeah.
like sawed it up in pieces, and he signed pieces and
Oh
signed it
man.
for you and gave. Yeah, it's really funny. But so they had to put a new stage and all that stuff in there. But that guy came back, and it was still running. He had to change the name of it. Um, so that's what he did, and then Big Ed opened up another club like around the corner in a hotel.
Mhm.
So now I have this Big Ed puppet from Verna.
Right.
So, and they said, if you work this club, you can't work the other one. You got to work one or the other. But I got to work them both because I had that puppet. So, Big Ed loved the puppet because it looked like him,
Mhm.
and the guy he worked for in this hotel didn't like him that much. But he's like, Bob, you got to bring the puppet of me in because this guy's bringing a bunch of people to see you do it. Because he didn't like Big Ed. They didn't
Right.
get along real well. he let him have the club there, man. And the other guy hated Big Ed, even though he took his club from him. But I was allowed to work there. So I basically used this puppet and act like he owned the club, no matter where I played. Even if he had nothing to do with the club, I would act like he was the club owner of the comedy club. And then I just order the waitresses around.
Did it still work?
That was your act. What?
Did it
It
still
always
work?
worked.
Wow.
It always worked, and I would take phone calls take orders, and you could do a telephone voice, take orders for the
Oh,
club.
that's great.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. But the best time was Ted Holm, who I don't know, he came on one of these one day when I was doing the animation thing. He's a comic. He lives in Florida now, and I worked with him in his called Who's On First, and he actually got married and had his bachelor party at his club.
Mm-hmm.
You know how everybody has like a bachelor party or
right.
a bachelorette party before they get married. So he had a bachelor party at his club. So it's all these comics. And they said, Bobby, why don't you get up? Everybody's going to get up and do like 5 minutes. And I'm like, oh, that ought to be great. I love doing shows for other comics. That's great. No pressure or anything. You know what I mean? It's like, because they've seen you. They know you. They've seen you.
Sure.
You can't do your regular stuff.
Mm.
Well, I had just gotten that Big Ed puppet, and I had done it one other time before that. So I went out and I did it in there, and I insulted all the comics like I hated them.
Oh,
I told them about other comics that you didn't even see anymore, like, yeah, I got Big X, I don't need you guys. You know, I got Funky Joe Schneiderman, and yeah, he named all these other acts. And I walked off the stage, and other comic goes, I don't know if you know it or not, but you just got a standing ovation from all comics. Like, because they go, you got to do this character all the time because it's a real it looks like it's like a real person that you based it on. It made it really real.
Wow.
It was fun to do them. It was really fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is.
That's
it's pretty cool. Good. But you got to think about that. Verna did a great job on that. But I don't know what else. She did my snowman.
Yeah.
So my Italian snowman. So
during this time, when did you get into you were doing ventriloquism with impressions? Is that right?
Yeah, and then I started out like that, but then I went to just doing. You know, Jeff talks about I do stand up ahead of time. That's what I started. I started doing a few jokes. I would do something juggling or something where I would start out and not talk, because in a lot of comedy clubs, especially after a game, like sometimes they would start the show after the game was over. So and people are more drunk then, and then you have to get them calmed down and all that stuff.
Right.
And I learned that if you didn't talk for the first 5 minutes of your act, they would be quiet. So that's how it went. So I would probably come out and do a couple of hat tricks or whatever, and juggle or something else, and then I would do maybe a magic. I have that one magic trick that I still do.
Steve Axtell just commented, he juggled my bird puppets.
I did do that. And the last interview I had, I don't know if Steve watched it, with the guys that were clowns that interviewed me yesterday. They were impressed with it. I juggled your bird puppet, like the bird. Yeah. So, but yeah, it was kind of cool to be able to talk to her and then put her away, and then she wants to juggle, and I would go, you can't juggle your bird, but I want to. So I'd say, okay, and then I would juggle her with a couple of balls and juggle her. Yeah, it was really good. I got another shows with other jugglers that were way better than I was, but they put me on the show because I was doing ventriloquism and juggling. So yeah, it worked. What am I trying to say though about it? I can't remember now. Oh, that was one of my beginnings, but that was the beginning that you started out with, and you had to start talking right away. But a lot of times people pay attention to you because I was using that arm extension thing. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I'd start out like that. So I had a different way of starting then, because a lot of that stuff then, a lot of your other things are lost. The stuff that you do that um, you didn't, where you didn't talk,
Yeah.
that stuff's lost, and you're thinking if you wanted that extra time or you wanted to do any of it, sometimes I would take, because you had to start out with the bird so you could put that all on. It takes so long to put it on. You could get it off fast, but you can't put it on fast enough.
Right.
So I would, a lot of times I would say, okay, now we're going to start the show, and I would leave and come back.
Yeah.
Sometimes I would take somebody out of the audience and act them like they were my assistant and hold their hand and bring them back and do that stuff. So yeah, that was the only thing I didn't never liked about the actual bird, was I had to start with it. Like there's no other way to do it. Like you
But
had to put it on and
it's a
do
neat
it.
thing, because I'm sure when it's a lot more popular now. But the Axtell, dodo and the bird arm illusion, it's kind of like a magic trick, and it's like, ooh, what's that? And it's probably
Yeah, well,
yeah,
it kind of was. It's sort of magical and you
yeah.
juggling, and plus it was the only female character I had because I don't do a good. I do a
What
lot of
voice did
voices,
you?
but women.
What was the voice you did for it?
I did like Monty Python and drag,
Mhm.
like one of the guys from Monty Python and drag. So I had to give her a British accent, and then it was like, "Hello, how nice it is," oh, kind of. And I took, I glued eyelashes on it because it had eyelids on it. Like Steve puts
Mhm.
those, so it looks kind of slower because it's supposed to be a dodo bird.
Yeah.
So the eyelids are down, so I could put eyelashes on it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's awesome.
and I did for a while. I put what is it? The glasses like librarians use.
Yeah.
I had to do that for a while. Was it get in the way a little bit? But it looked kind of
Did
cool
you have
because it
the
was like
chain too?
yeah, that's what I did. I just hung them around her neck with the glasses hanging
Oh wow.
there, like the bird wears glasses. Yeah, okay.
So when was your first
Uh,
convention? Your first Vent convention that you attended?
I was supposed to be 84, and I was in a really bad auto accident. I almost died, and so I didn't get to go to that one. And I guess
Yeah.
everybody prayed for me. And John, that's when they used to. Mark didn't run the convention all the time. A different person would run it every year. They would have a meeting and decide who was going to do it. So next year was Mark doing it, and John Arvita said, everybody would like to see Bob because they don't know him, and they all prayed for him, and they were amazed that he lived. Because I guess I was unconscious for 3 or 4 days. So
Wow.
he wanted to bring him. Mark's like, oh, he'll come to the convention, right? And he said, no, he won't. And I even told him that. I said, until I'm invited to go to that convention, I'm not just going. I'm
Right.
not doing it. And so the next year, I went, and they put me on I was a host for, that's when they put the junior and the senior contests both on the same day, and it was like one after the other. I think you got a
Oh.
break between the two. Yeah, it was like 5 hours of MC work. It was pretty rough, and yeah, and they didn't have. I don't know if they had didn't. I don't think they had cutoff times.
Mhm.
I don't know. It ran forever.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was getting tired. Jay Marshall helped me. Jay Marshall was on the side giving me jokes and stuff because he knew I was fading. But he liked my Groucho, and I did Groucho. I saw that myself. I'm like, I wonder if anybody does that here. Like, I don't think anybody really did that there, where they dress up and be somebody else to MC. So
And now it's a tradition that you do.
yeah, yeah,
But
that
it's
I
really
do
neat
it.
because a lot of people today know you as the MC for the general open mic, and it's one of my favorite parts, and a lot of people's favorite parts of the convention, because sometimes
That's
it's
nice.
funny. It's funny but sometimes for reasons that it shouldn't be funny. But but it's
Well,
a
that's
really
the
great.
best part because you don't
Yeah.
know what you're getting. It's
Yeah,
gong show like, yeah.
it's really great, and it's later on in the day, so there's a lot of people usually show up, and it's a really neat time. Can you kind of talk about how you became the host for that, and kind of how you do like a different character every year? It's like a surprise to everyone.
Well, what I did was, it's kind of funny. I I actually the first convention I was ever at, and I did the junior and senior ones.
Hmm.
They still had the general open mic late at night, but I was didn't know whether to do it as me or do it as, and I thought about doing it as Groucho, and I go, I don't know, but I'll tell you who tipped me off was Bob Isaacson. Bob Isaacson
Oh, wow.
called me and he said, you know what, you should do that as Groucho. And I said, I thought about it, but I didn't know. And he goes, no, 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 you should really do it like that. They would really like it because nobody does anything like that. And I said, okay, so that's what I did. And then I know I for some reason because Isaacson lived close to me, I think I rode with him there even. I think
Yeah.
he drove me there, but he was a big help to me because he told me what to prepare myself for at that convention. Like he said, don't do this, don't no, you know what I mean?
Brace
So
yourself, right? Yeah.
like yeah, like don't do this. You know how you usually do this? Don't do that. You'll piss people off. That kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I try to keep everything above board, but I still ticked a few people off. I'm sure. What you
Mhm.
got to do?
Yeah.
No, I don't know. Yeah, I live for that. So,
Yeah.
but yeah. So what happened was, I- um, I'm sure Mark's not still on here. I'd love to ask him the name of the guy that hosted that for years. He hosted the general open mic for years and years. Can't remember. Um, and he was running low on batteries or whatever, and then uh, they were going to have to replace and find somebody else to do it. I've seen other people do it besides him when he didn't want to do it. It wasn't me,
Yeah.
and they did not like doing it because people would go forever. It
Mhm.
ran till like 2 in the morning because nobody cut anybody off. You just had to wait till they were done. They
Oh,
would go
wow.
forever. Oh my God. You'd be still doing shows. There'd be like two Civil War veterans and a Cyclops in the audience because like everybody else is in bed. You know, it was like horrible. So nobody wanted to do it. And
Was Harold Crocker in the show back then too, or not? Do you know?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think he always did it.
Harold and Butch. Okay.
Um,
Because they're a
but
staple.
see, Cecil Carpenter was the big deal, and they just put a thing up, and it's too bad you can't hear him. I mean, Cecil and I,
Hmm.
Cecil was really something because I think I told it about in Pete Michaels because Pete and I go into his room and he explained what he does. I have that in Pete's when I wrote a thing about Pete about how Pete and I learned about him.
Yeah.
You should just read it. I don't want to talk about it, but it's really pretty cool. Cecil was really funny though, and he was part of that too, like a staple. Uh, the real thing about it was though, nobody really wanted to do it, and I thought it was hilarious because I saw in it what I hope other people. I think other people do now because I bring it out because I
Hmm.
point it out or whatever. But
Right.
yeah, if you're good, people really enjoy it, and if you're really bad, they enjoy it too. Like it could be
Hmm.
just as good because it's terrible.
Yeah.
So and yeah, I saw people like they had to actually the first convention I was ever at. They actually had to carry me out of there, like a person on each side, because I was laughing so hard I couldn't stop, and it was really loud laughter. I couldn't take, like a
Yeah.
girl talking about, um, she was on stage with the puppet with her dummy talking about how she was broke up with her boyfriend and stuff. It
Oh,
was
wow.
really weird, yeah.
Yeah.
And then um, she started talking about how bugs can give milk and all this stuff, and I yelled out, "What are you like? Is this National Geographic? What is this show?" You know, like it
Yeah.
was like the Discover Channel, yeah. And stuff like that's really funny. Or the guy that does this, or the guy who he said, "Yeah, they told me I was afraid I would forget my ex, so they said I could write it down on a piece of paper, and then I could refer to it when I needed to do it. What does he do? He doesn't like notes and then just glance at them.
He like
He goes
reads
like
it.
this. He was like, yeah, he's like this. Da 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 da. Then he goes like this.
Oh wow.
Like he goes real slow, like you won't notice it if he goes slower to
What is
look,
it
and
like
he has them
stapled
on.
to the back of the puppet? What's
Yeah, on the dummy's back. Yeah, he had it on notes on the dummy's back.
Oh
So
man.
so he slides over like this. He goes, and then you see him moving his lips while he's reading. He's like, and then he comes back out and does the next line. And then when he's done with that line,
That's
he does
great.
it again.
Oh man.
Oh my god! Oh my god! It was hilarious.
I
It was
would have
so
died.
funny.
Yeah.
Oh, that was great. So those acts were really good. So I loved that. I thought
Yeah.
that was so funny, and I liked doing it. And then I think it was Ron Lucas that said, "It's too bad that you can't let the audience decide if they should stay or should they go. Like you only on for a certain amount of time, and then you go stay or go, and then they go they're out of there, you know." But
Yeah.
you know what? It's almost like the gong thing. Like a lot of people, the only time they go up is that one time for the whole year. Like a lot of people
Right.
don't ever go on stage.
Yeah.
So you're hurting them. Like you should let them go. You know.
Mhm.
So that's the day that I called Mark and I said, I want to do the show, and I found this stoplight. I don't know if I found it online or whatever. And he said, "Well, Bob, yeah, you could buy that and use it." And I go, "No, no, no. I'm not buying it. You're buying it because you're going to use it all the time because I don't need it for anything else."
Mhm.
And I think it's made for guys who do speeches within companies, and they have to do a certain amount of time, and they
Sure.
want to cut. They
You don't want
keep it
him
in
to
the
go
back
over.
of the room. Yeah, but I thought, oh, this is great. I can make the thing like 6 minutes now, and then it has, it's timed out, and
Right.
then it has a remote, so the person, because I don't have time to line people up for the next thing and time them how long they're going to be on and everything. I can't, you know what I mean? I don't
Right.
have time to move the thing. So
Mhm.
the guys that do the sound watch that and do everything. And then my old partner said to me, "You should sing a song that you make everybody sing at the end. That way, it's not like just get off, like they sing them off." And I'm like, "That's a great one too." So that's how it
Wow.
all happened.
What's the song?
I didn't start out like that. Like I started out and it was slow and it was tough,
Right.
but after a
What's the
while, after you
song
get
though?
all that stuff going, what's that?
What is the song that everyone sings to have the person exit?
Stop in the name of love before you break my heart. And then we have them sing, "Your act is over." Yeah,
It's so great. Yeah.
and most people know it like now because I've done the same song for every year,
Yeah, well,
like
I've
ever.
told
Yeah,
you this, and I think Smith Henderson is watching. Yeah, Smith Henderson, I believe, is on here. But he and I usually get front
Smith
row
is
seats.
a good fan to have.
Yeah,
Anyway, go
but
ahead.
he and I usually get front row seats to this, and like the funniest thing ever. I build puppets, so sometimes I think on the first night, I have dealers' rooms run late, so I'm not able to make it. But I usually
Right.
try to get there whenever I can. And it's oh man, it's great, and it's even better that you host it because you're not just emceeing it. You're mingling with the personalities that go up there and do their acts, or you're making their act
Mhm.
funnier, or you're adding to their act. Like the lady with the two puppets, the two floating puppets that was singing the
Oh
song.
yeah, yeah, from Japan, and then I went up and took two puppets and floated next to her, like
But my
did
favorite part about that, I think it was
it.
the year earlier where
She thanked me for doing it too. I thought, like, man, she's gonna be
no,
ticked off, and she's like, "Thank you for doing it. You are so nice to come on with me." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, thanks."
but what
Yeah,
it
she's
was
sweet.
she had this act, and she had I think a duck and then a rabbit, and they had this whole act, and the whole joke was like one of them would say you too, and then so they would go back and forth, and then she said something at the end, and then you could hear you from behind the curtain go you too. It's like
Yeah,
the
we
funniest thing.
that's
Oh
so much
man,
fun to do all this stuff.
yeah,
But I could never figure out, and I guess maybe she's not used to it, but we have all these stands. We have extra stuff back there for people to put
yeah,
puppets on, like in stands and
hmm
stuff like that. So we would have given her a stand for each puppet, but she's like, no, I don't need it. And so now she's there with these floating puppets.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Tina Meter said, okay, I was going to sign up for open mic, maybe not now. No, in all honesty, it's funny. In all honesty, they're a very supportive crowd. If you're, there's some good acts there. There's some good acts.
Oh
And there's
yeah,
some
real
bad acts,
good ones.
and that's what makes it great. It's because we have fun with the bad acts too, but the audience is great, super receptive. There's usually some women in the crowd that'll laugh at anything, and yeah, it's a good time. So
what about Jimmy D? That one year that Jimmy D's son went up,
Jimmy
and he
D's
was
son,
really
yeah,
little.
he
Yeah, he was
got up there.
great. That kid.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
killed it with that slappy dummy. Yeah.
yeah. I thought he was really good, and he. I don't know what he's like now because I haven't been around him for a while, his son. But I don't know how old he was at the time, but he acted like he's like 40 years old. Like, okay, if you need help, you just let me know. I got it covered. It's okay.
Yeah.
Now he talks to you like he's Patrick Warburton. Like, yeah, okay, I got it. It's fine. That's what he talks. But he's a little tiny kid with a little tiny kid voice. But yeah.
Yeah,
But he acts like he's been around forever.
that's great.
I don't know if he's still like that or not. Maybe he turned into a kid later. I don't
Mhm.
know. Peasy's the guy though that used to always make fun of me. He said, "You're the only guy ever who goes backwards. Like you start out doing legitimate theater, then you're comedy and you're doing nightclubs and stuff for adults,
Yeah.
and then I come back here and I start doing more kid shows, and I don't really do kid shows. I did a few of them in Chicago, not much, but yeah, it's weird
Well,
to
kid
do
shows
that.
are weird
And
because
then I
it's
come back
like,
here and I'm like, oh, the kids are really honest, so they don't let you get away with anything. So you
I
got to
mean,
be
some
ahead of them.
shows are, yeah, you got to be ahead of them. But then also sometimes it turns into like a babysitting situation where it's if they're younger, you're just, you're just there with a puppet to keep them amused for a
Yeah.
while. Yeah,
Well,
but
when I was doing my favorite story ever is the Safari Bob Worldwide Animal Guide, where I'm out there and I take out the Axtel seal
mhm,
and I have him do seal stuff like do the horns.
mhm,
I have him balance the ball because he's made for that.
right,
All that stuff, and then I have him do a psychic thing, even though kids don't know what that means. But it's like, but I'm doing all this stuff. But when I talk to him, and he talks back, and he goes, "Arr, arr, 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 arr," like a seal does, but
sure,
he's not talking.
right,
And I always remember this kid. There was one kid. It was in a kinder care or something, but it was during the summer where a lot of those places bring in kids that are older than that because their parents don't have any place to put them. They're not in school, and both parents are working.
right.
So this kid's in there. He's a really good kid. You could ask him any question. He knows all the answers. He's right there. He's like the little fat kid who knows everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then after I'm talking to the seal for a while, he goes, "You understand him?" like because we're talking, and he's like amazed by that. And I'm thinking, here's a kid who's into everything. Like he knows answers to everything.
Yeah.
But he really believes that was real seal.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I was like amazing because I like Dr. Doolittle, like I knew everything he was saying.
Wow.
So to me,
That's
that
awesome.
was a big compliment. That's like,
Yeah.
even though it's funny, to me that's a huge compliment. Like,
yeah, because you fool them. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
So,
Smith
and
Henderson said,
I remember getting set back there later, and I had to fill in for a pirate, and they said they made me into, I don't even know what my Bob Pirate character was, but they told him, they go, he's sort of like Smee. So now I couldn't do my voice. I had to do Smee's voice, like from Peter Pan.
yeah.
So I'd be like, "Bye, sir." I was doing that, plus trying to do puppets too.
Oh
Like,
man.
so now you're thinking of what voice you use, but what voice they use, because you're not
Right.
using your voice at all. You're out of the box. Yeah. So
Mhm. Yeah.
it's really weird. But I remember showing up and they go, "It's Safari Bob," and I'm like, "No, I'm not. I'm me today." Whatever pirate character they made. They're like, "Okay." But to
Okay.
to them, I was
Yeah.
always Safari Bob because that's who they saw me as first.
Now you've got
So
you have a few DVDs out. Can you talk a little bit about those? And where can our viewers go to get those? Is it Lee Cornell?
some, Lee Cornell has them. Yeah, Lee
Okay.
Cornell films it, so he would have them.
Yeah.
I might have some, but I won't.
And you've
You know, if I
got
bring some to the convention. So
you've got choices of voices.
right, and you
Um,
got to have your photographs taken. So you can.
yeah,
It's how to have your proper. I have 150 photographs on there. You have a lot of choices
and
on
it's
there
great.
too.
Yeah,
I,
I
I
was
don't.
able
More
to.
people don't buy it. Everybody thinks they know everything, I guess, because now, especially since you can take your own photographs on your camera and everything with
Mm,
selfies and everything. But I I don't think people really even know how to frame everything out and make it look good on there.
mhm.
Like what pictures did you put up to promote this thing, this this interview?
Oh, I use Canva, which is like an online photo editor type thing, and I
Yeah.
had made a kind of a collage with different text. But I I put up some photos. I think one of you with Speedy, which is your dog character, at Janowski Farms with in the plant room. And
The
then
green room, yeah.
the green room, yeah. And with
Yeah.
and then the one that you had taken when you were working on balloons, and then another one when you were doing, I think Ed Sullivan or one of your
Barney
Venthaven
Fife.
Arnie Five.
Barney
That's
Fife.
what it was. Yeah.
So I don't know who. I probably Philip Jones probably took that. I would
Hmm.
think because he's like the photographer for the convention.
Yeah.
So that's a legitimate regular photograph. But the other two were done on my camera. So that's like a people like giving your camera to use people to do it.
Right.
I think the one with the balloon one, I think I took myself, and then Joanne Janowski, Mrs. Janowski, took that other one because it's her farm and her greenhouse.
Well,
And
something.
you sort of line them up. Yeah, like she
Mhm.
was really good with me though, because I could look through it and say this is what it should look like, and then I would like stand in there and see how it could get because I can't see when people are doing it. And when
Something
you
that
have a professional doing, a lot of professionals do not like you to tell them what to do. They know everything, but they usually you do have to tell them what to do because if you're doing it with a puppet,
mhm.
the puppet's eyes
Yeah, you have to focus the
have
eyes.
yeah, the eyes are the life of the puppet. Like that's where all the things are. So you have to make sure they're looking in the right place to make them
Yeah.
look real.
Well, and another important thing too, and one of my pet peeves when I see people's photos, and they really should check out your DVD because it's great, and it even shows
Thanks.
photos that you've done, and it. I mean, that's the whole thing is you talk about different angles and different shots and different ideas too. It's also very a whole creative process, and a stand for a soft puppet like this. You can make a stand. Go to Hobby Lobby. That's
Yeah.
what I do and make a stand for a soft puppet. Take a dowel and make your own stand to pose your soft puppet if you want multiple characters in your frame, or even taking a rubber band or some type of band and putting it over the mouth lever on the head stick for a hard puppet to keep the mouth open because you don't know how many times I've seen ventriloquist photos where their puppet looks dead and it kills the
Yeah.
illusion that something looks
You know,
off.
we used to take like a little wad of paper even
Yeah,
and
yeah.
put it in the back to keep the mouth open because even if you see that, it looks like a tooth if it's white
Hmm.
paper.
Yeah,
You put it
exactly.
back there, and then Kristen Peterson's with the lever.
Mhm,
Hers are so cool because she has a screw that
mhm.
goes into the lever.
Yeah,
You could pull the lever down and tighten it, the screw, and it'll keep the mouth open exactly at that level
perfect. Yeah,
for pictures, and then you can just loosen up for you to do shows with after you're done.
yeah,
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I don't know anybody else that has that setup, but hers are great for that.
yeah. It's definitely a neat
My
thing.
thing was like if you look at anybody that I don't think they do. They don't use lobby cards in theaters anymore. I think they just have big posters of what's going on. But back in the day when they had a lobby card where you had the big poster for the show, and then you have 2 or 3 pictures from the movie underneath, and they sort of were action shots, and they told the picture, but the story of so a little bit from the picture, like, oh, I want to see that. It's like looking at the cover of a novel.
Sure.
I think that's how your photographs should look. They should have some kind of thing going on it that tells a story, so people want to book you.
Yeah.
I want that. That's really something.
Yeah, it should exactly.
Yeah,
It should have a unique selling point that
right.
divorces you from every other kind in your. If you're a ventriloquist, oh well, he's not like XYZ ventriloquist that I've seen in the past. He's got his whole. Yeah, it's very important.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a pretty cool, I think, to think like that. Really helps you. But a lot of people can't do it. In fact, the one I think somebody, I don't even talk about the person that copied me and did it, but one of the greatest shots I used for quite a while, instead of having just a regular smiling Bob with a dummy close-up shot, was Darby and I tied together with a bomb next to us. We're tied back to back, and when the guy lit the fuse because it wasn't a real bomb, it was the thing they used, the plastic thing they used for a ball and chain.
Yeah.
Where they used to have in prisons. Yeah, they had plastic links to it. So all he did was he got one of those, and we put a real fuse in it. And even though me personally, even though I know it's fake, you light that fuse and it starts going. It's kind of scary, actually. So my face, I didn't have to act real hard. I was like, ooh, and Darby has his mouth open, but it's kind of cool. And I probably propped his mouth because I don't think I could put my hand backwards because we were tied back to back. But that's a cool close-up shot. And then he had.
So, and it's interesting.
He's one of those guys that had fake bricks behind you too, because he used to shoot for detective magazines. Bill Cramp in Chicago. So since he used to shoot for detective magazines, he would have all these sets. So he had a thing with, I think they're plastic bricks, I think. But it looks like a real brick wall. You can't tell what they're made out of. And they put it behind it so you don't know if you're locked in a whatever. You know what? I think that's in, unless Lisa took it down, it should still be in building 2. Because I always liked, I don't know. I guess I like all the 3 buildings, but I just like those buildings. Like I have a certain attachment for each one of those at Venthaven because they have a different feel to each one. Sure. And one of the greatest things is I want to be in the second building. So I wrote on there, I'm being held captive in building 2. So they would always have to leave it in there. When they redo the museum and put in a big one, I don't know how great that is, but I think you can still put it in because nobody knows what building 2 is or whatever. So yeah, that was back in the days too when you used to have photographs run off in a dark room.
Oh,
not like now. Yeah, so I had one run off in the dark room because it was supposed to be an 8x10, and I had them run it off as a 8x7 or an 10x8, so it would be this way, and it's a Laurel and Hardy shot. So I had this over here, and they put my name over here, and then there's all this room for me to write in. And my point, I wanted people to be able to see it, and I said, please, I'm glad to be in here hanging next to the real Laurel and Hardy because there's a ventriloquist photograph in there, and he's standing all on each side of him. And I wanted to be next to them because I knew at a certain point, and that's kind of here now, where a lot of people don't know who Laurel and Hardy are.
Right.
So I thought, wouldn't that be cool to have me with the Verna Finley Ollie and then me doing Stan next to it? And so, yeah. But I thought, if I write that on there, then they'll have to be there. But the other thing was, I think they used to be above the door because there's less wall space. So that way it would have to be sideways next to theirs sideways. That's why I had them run it off because that shot should be long ways.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? To use the full,
Right, to get the full effect.
Space. Yeah.
Sorry, Steve Axtell just commented. Jeff Dunham talked about going to Venthaven with Bob last week on WTF with Mark Maron, which is what you had told me the other day, that a lot of people are. You want to share
I
that
heard he
story?
mentioned my name, what we used to do, but yeah.
Yeah,
Well, we
it's a
wanted
fun story.
now. This will be the well. We always wondered how much they cleaned that place. Like Lisa really does an amazing job. Like she even showed
She
like
thought,
how
yeah.
she's taken a, yeah, she's taking care of. To us, those are real characters to us, especially when we're using them. And she really does think like that. Like she
Mhm.
takes them each down and cleans each one perfectly. That's why it takes her so long to do it. It's not like you're just put them back.
Mhm.
You're
And she's
taking
very,
them
yeah,
down
she's
and
got a hardcore respect for everything in the museum, and it's really,
yeah, and
yeah,
yes,
really
and
good.
she puts them back in the same order so you can find them, all that kind of stuff. So
Hmm.
what's really cool is though, Jeff and I always wondered how often do they really pay attention to these, and how often do they clean them? So I used to make, uh, I think so it would be fast. I would make a balloon flower, and there's a way to make a flower out of one balloon where it has a core in the middle and then six petals, like it's in sets of two all the way around it, and then
Uh-huh.
you got this long stem. So we always wondered how often did they clean these, so we would we would write, and we also knew if they do clean it, we won't they won't look inside. They won't look inside the where your hand goes.
Right, the body, yeah.
Right. So we would, and I would let Jeff touch them because I didn't want to touch anything. So I would make the balloon, and I would sign it, and he would sign it. We didn't sign it. We would initial it, and then put the date on it, and then we put it in, and we would see how long it would be there. Like that little guy that's like holds the book. He's like a bellhop. He holds the
Yeah,
book. They'd always find it in there because he's right there.
right,
So we try to figure out where we put it, and it has to be in something that we would remember where we put it because we wouldn't be there for a year. How do you remember where you put it?
right.
Yeah. So yeah. So some of them we had in there were like, hey, this still looks pretty good after a couple of years. Like it would some of them would actually still be up.
Wow.
They'd be real tiny, but you could still tell what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's awesome. That's awesome.
there's an old book too where everybody talked about how there was a clique. We
Hmm.
were in a clique, and I never thought we were. I always thought everybody was like we were. I really do feel like that. We're like a family. I think they laughed at me once. They said, "This is like going to church here, really, because everybody watches love for everybody, and you're not supposed to swear and everything else. You know what I mean? Like it's a little more open now, but yeah.
Hmm.
Um, but um, so I remember one time we all signed that thing. It was like when we're having our meeting afterwards, like the people on the board were having a meeting, and we signed we signed that book, and we put um, BFC and then the year.
Uh-huh.
So B and click is C was for click, and you could tell what the F is probably for. Um, so that's I think Link Tressler and all of us did it. We love it. I don't know what year that was. It's in one of those books. I'm glad I mentioned because if Ladshaw or Lisa or anybody watches this, they'll go through all the books
Yeah.
and see if they can find it. Yeah,
That'll be a fun
it's probably
scavenger hunt during this time.
yeah for them. Yeah, I'm sure they
Yeah.
love that. Let's ruin people's lives by making them look for stuff.
Well, I want to move because you talked about what Verna built for you, and then you talked about you do a plethora of impressions. You've also been lately showing some of your animation cells, which are super neat because you collect those, and
Yes,
and so you've
that
got
I
this
didn't mean to collect, but I did.
yeah, and so you have this
Yeah.
ability where you're able to do all these different voices, and you're constantly studying more voices. Can you kind of talk about voices, and then we'll go into creating a character and your process on that, and bring out Speedy.
Well, growing up as a kid, I was amazed by that because um, I watched a lot of cartoons as a kid, and I remember Popeye doing Bugs Bunny, or Popeye doing Jimmy Durante, or Bugs Bunny doing Groucho, or I mean, there's one where he's in with Edward G. Robinson and he does meow meow. See, I mean, in Bugs Bunny they draw his face so he still looks like Bugs, but he has a Edward G.
Right.
Robinson face.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that kind of stuff. So, and as a kid, even though they're cartoon characters, you still believe they're real people. And I go, I could do that. So I was doing Jimmy Durante, like somebody has one of those little plastic records that you could record on. Like
Yeah.
a friend of my mom's or somebody came into the house and did that. And I know it's someplace, but they have it someplace. But it's me doing Jimmy Durante, and I was probably 2. So
Wow.
I was really, I was like really influenced by that. So,
wow.
Yeah. And then when I was in high school, I love, and a lot of people don't even know who W.C. Fields is anymore. If it wasn't for him doing stuff with Edgar Bergen and Charlie McCarthy, he would be, as a comic, I think he would totally be lost.
Mm-hmm.
He is really a great comic. But
Yeah.
I'm in high school. I was in I don't know how many talent shows, and I didn't have I wasn't a ventriloquist then, so I would do I used to do W.C. Fields. I would juggle, and I had somebody make a nose for me, a rubber nose, so I could
Mm-hmm.
look like him. But I still didn't look like him. I mean, I don't really look like him. I actually did it at the convention one year. I did it with Bob Isaacson, could do a really good Bergen and McCarthy,
Mm-hmm.
and I did it with him one year at the convention. I did W.C. Fields. We did it back and forth.
What's interesting to me is that when I see someone do an impression, a voice impression of someone else, they embody that character. With the way they position their mouth, or maybe like the way they tilt their eyebrows. And so, like, even though like you don't
Right.
necessarily look like Paul Lynde, when you did Paul Lynde at the convention, it was hilarious because the voice is spot on. You dressed up as the character, and everything else was believable through through kind of the way your face mimicked his when you did it.
Yeah. I had only done Paul Lynde. I mean, I did him in my act, but
Mhm.
I had never really dressed and done them until I did it in Chicago in a place that used to do a version of the Hollywood Squares, and they actually made like out of pipes, so it would
Mhm.
be sectioned off, and then they put
Just
chairs on different levels so you could be there. Were you getting calls during an interview? How does that work? Yeah, who's watching this? How do you, as an interviewer, get calls during this? Or did he have to go to the bathroom? If you have to go to the bathroom, I understand it, but come on. I might have to after a while because I've been drinking water here. Okay, so I made fun of you for leaving. Sorry.
Sorry.
Did you get a call? How do you get
I
a
did.
call during a? Did you?
Yeah.
Can't you have your mom or your sister or somebody answer the phone for you?
Well,
Your
no,
dad
because
even?
it was for me from my dad, so I had to.
Oh, it's from your dad.
It's
Okay.
yeah, we have a landline, so.
Oh,
Well,
so you like the bat phone?
yeah, we've got that
Yeah.
special ring too. But yeah. So where were we? We were talking. Oh yeah, you were talking about your voices, and can you kind of? I mean, I don't want to. They can buy your
So I
DVD.
sort of got sidestepped about getting from cartoons to that,
Yeah.
but you can get. I told you the thing about Bob Clampett, who did Beanie and Cecil, saying puppets are like cartoon characters that you can touch. I love that saying, and he did it because Beanie and Cecil, even though everybody thought of it as a cartoon, if you go way back in the beginning of television, you could look some of those up. He did it as a puppet show, and Stan Freberg did Cecil, and Dawes Butler, who ended up working for Hanna-Barbera doing tons of voices, did Beanie. So,
Yeah.
and that was a big show. Like everybody watched it. Like Groucho, Katharine Hepburn, everybody's like, "Time for Beanie. We got to watch Time for Beanie."
Yeah.
That was it was hilarious. I guess people really liked it. The ones that I've watched are pretty funny. So
what is the
yeah.
quote that
What?
about You told me the quote. Can you share the quote about puppets
I just
related
did
to?
it. I just did it again. Puppets
Okay.
are like cartoon characters that you
Yeah.
can touch.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, so that Bob Clampett said that because he was doing Beanie and Cecil first as puppets, then as a cartoon. But when you think about it, and people are think I'm crazy, but like I watch the Flintstones again, even though a lot of this I've seen before, but I watch all these incidental characters and see who's doing that. Like I saw a doctor today on that, and I'm like, that's Alan Melvin, the guy who wants to beat up Barney, or he played the character of Alan Melvin was in the Brady Bunch. He was like Sam the Butcher. He dated what's her face, Alice.
Yeah.
So yeah, and he was a sergeant in Gomer Pyle, and I don't know what other characters. He was a character actor, and I think he was also he did a lot of cartoon voices. He did Miguel the Gorilla. He did Pumpkin Puss, and he did who else? I don't know about a lot, but if you think of that and you go, okay, you could take that voice and make it into something else, and that's really what the choices of voices thing was, because I learned from watching and listening to all these cartoons. When you watch them, you go, that's so and so doing that voice, and you think, but it's not like the other voice that he did that you could tell him it's him underneath it a little bit, but a lot of them you're like, wow, that's kind of amazing. It's they take the one voice and they just slide it a little bit over, and that's Dallas Butler did that on a lot of his. He took a lot of famous people and made those voices fit the cartoon character, but the character was based on a famous person, like like Snagglepuss. The exit stage left or right, even that's based on the Cowardly Lion that Burt Lahr did. Put him up, put him up. It's not the same, but it's close.
Yeah, it's in the same family. Yeah.
Right. And then it's like Yogi Bear's like that too. Yogi Bear's like Art Carney.
So you practice these voices. You practice these voices, and you just kind of some that you use in your show, and then some that you just have from things that you've seen that you can pull from when you're when you pick up a puppet in the dealer's room, or when you're just goofing off and you try someone else's puppet on, or give them ideas, or whatever. You've got this kind of idea. What is it? Is it the look of the puppet? What strikes a chord with the voice?
Sometimes it's a look of the puppet, but you can go for what it looks like and make it sound like it should, or you can go the exact opposite and make it sound like you wouldn't think that it would sound like that, and that can be funnier.
Okay.
So, like I saw Bill Nelson. Bill Nelson's is a fine artist. Besides being able to make all these different figures and that people have, but I love how he draws. Like I could look at his drawings over and over again, and he had one with all these animals all crunched in, and it was like a rhinoceros head. It looked like a real rhinoceros, but it had a body. And I always wanted this character of for a while. I don't know if I want to do it anymore, but that would be funnier to have a rhinoceros puppet that was like a thug. Like it looked like it could beat you up. It looked really mean. Had like leather gloves, so he could like crack safes or whatever he has to do, or just pound somebody. He doesn't put his fingerprints on anything. And I thought, wouldn't that be great to have and have him look mean and have it be big, and then have him go,
it's a great
I'm gonna kick your ass. You know what I mean? Like really high, like you know what? You're doomed. I got it on you. Wouldn't it be funny? And you have this huge character.
It's great because you bring him out, you get that initial response of laughter from them seeing the puppet, and then you you have him open his mouth, and it's that's great.
Shut up! I'm gonna take you in a minute.
But then the neat thing about that voice is it also opens a whole realm for what the content of the bit is, because you can have him talk about how people don't respect him, or how maybe they do because he's the boss he's the ringleader behind it all, or whatever. He's
Well,
involved in
say he works for other people, but he goes, a lot of people are afraid of me, but sometimes they don't pay attention. I don't know why. They just don't.
Yeah.
And everybody laughs because they would go, oh, now I act like I've already done it on stage, and I never have. I just had that in my head forever. But from talking to me, if it was up to me and I had the time on stage,
Yeah.
and I have way too many puppets now, but that's why I would like to do a show and just do them all. Like,
Yeah.
I could do voices forever. And doing that lecture that Mark had let me do at the convention, that the choices of the voices was taped from like 2 lectures.
Mm-hmm.
The best part of that is, and that's why that thing runs for 2 hours. The best part of it is not just me in the beginning breaking down voices and doing a bunch before I pick up puppets.
Yeah.
Or having the ones that Steve Axel or Jet or I don't know. I had them from other people. They lent me puppets that I had on a back table so I could use them when I wanted to.
Yeah.
But the cool thing about that is when people lent me their puppets from the audience that were at the convention, they have. I say, bring your puppet or your dummy with you, and they hand it to me and they let me do the voice.
Yeah.
Like what I think it should sound like. So I do one. Now, after I've done it, they pick a voice what they think it should sound like, and they know it's not going to be what I picked. And I don't even know if I can do it, but they're like, there was a rabbit I liked. It was kind of heavy.
Was it the Jet Rabbit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wanted Lee Cornell to buy it because it was big, like with the ears and everything on it was huge. It looked, because Lee is so tall, it looked in size with him. But I don't know what it made him sound like. I don't remember my choice, but somebody said he should make him sound like he's French, and I gave him a French accent, and I thought it was hilarious.
It was really funny.
It was funnier than what I picked. I thought it was really funny. So, yeah, it's all that stuff. But to me, because I'm happier when I'm creating things, to me that made me the happiest ever.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to talk, let's talk about Paul Lind again, since you brought that up. The time I was Paul Lind and did it at the convention, whose idea was that? That was Steve Petra.
Really?
Steve Petra. Lisa asked for it too.
Mm.
Lisa said, "Wouldn't it be cool if you did Paul Lind?" And then Steve Petra said, "You could do that. Couldn't you be him and do it?" And I go, "I guess I don't really look like him." He goes, "Yeah, but you could do it to host with." And I'm like, "Yeah, I guess I could." So that's what I did. Because of them saying that, that's why I tried it. Otherwise, I don't think I would have bothered.
Wow.
And it's hard to pick people now too. But
at Scott Land's, when you did their event,
that was the other one.
He had asked you to do the Paul Lind voice on various puppets, and it was funny with all of them, right?
Well, I said that's because I made the mistake of saying to him, the Paul Lind character is so strong, the voice is so good, it fits any puppet. And so every puppet I would pick up, and he's really kind. He let me use like stuff that he had there already, tons of them. So,
and there was another character. I don't know if it was at that time, but there was a dog puppet that you used. You talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, but let me go finish this one first.
Sure.
The thing was, because I said it would go with any character, then every time I picked one up, he would go, "Now do Paul Lind. Now do Paul Lind." And he said, and he might be right, I don't know, but he said, "Wouldn't it be funny if you had a whole thing of puppets, like you would bring one puppet after the other, but they all sounded the same and they all sounded like Paul Lind? Wouldn't that be funny?" And I'm like, I don't know. It's funny to you and me. I don't know if the regular audience would think it was that funny, but yeah, I thought it was really funny. Now, yeah, he let me use. He had a big box. It was way up on his shelf. You know, he used to work for Disney. He was a performer there. So I guess they would have auctions and stuff. So he bought a lot of puppets that Tony Urbano made. some of them were hard figures, and some of them were soft.
Oh wow.
And yeah, because he let me use the frogs he had.
Hmm.
God, it would be so much fun to do a thing with those frogs because there was only one of
Super
them. I
neat.
could only use one at a time, but if you had 3 people, you could have like this whole
But the
frog
frog,
chorus going.
yeah, the frogs were neat because it was the puppet, and then they had these long legs, and the head stick was like in black, and it came right through the body, so you operate it from the bottom, right? Do you know what they were used in?
Yeah. No, I don't. Scott
Eh,
might. Scott Land, if you talk to him
Yeah,
again, ask him. I don't remember what they used them for.
they were neat. They were very neat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we both know because of looking into it is that Wally Bogue that worked there for years at the Golden Horseshoe, and he had the greatest act ever. His act was so good that when he retired, Disney paid him for that act and paid him to teach somebody else his act.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. Anyway, then I guess that's what the dog was made for. And we saw another version of that dog online.
Yeah.
Yes. And then Scott had one of those. Bought Scott bought that from Tony Urbano at one of those auctions. He got it because it's signed by him in the inside. It's
Oh wow.
really cool, and I just liked it. And I came up with a whole new voice for it, and I said I will never remember that voice. And they taped me. I said I will never remember that voice. If you could make sure I get to see that again, I would like to hear that voice. It's hard to do. Maybe I could find a different place to put it from. And I've never seen it again. I don't know what happened with that
No.
recording of that. But the other one I used was Pat Buttram's voice. That I used to use it for the bear that Steve Axel's bear, Root Bear that I called him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I used it for that, but I don't do the bear that much. I was only doing him if I was doing Safari Bob Worldwide Animal Guide or something
Right.
else. So I did do it for Cub Scouts once. Like I acted like the bear found it. Like I put a Cub Scout hat. I actually bought the hats that they used to wear, and I cut the things out so it'd sit on his head and his ears poke through, and he could wear the bandit. And I said, "So you're a Cub Scout now?" And he's like, "Oh yeah." And I'm like, "Well, you didn't join the Cub Scouts. I don't let bears join the Cub Scouts. Oh, where'd you find this outfit?" And he goes, "Well, I kind of found it." "You kind of found it?" "Yeah, I kind of found it in the forest." "Where?" "Underneath a tree." And I go, "The kid just left it there?" "Well, it's kind of on him. He was asleep." You know, that kind of stuff. Like you find out he stole it.
Yeah.
You know, it's pretty funny, yeah.
Yeah.
But with that voice, you're like, "Well, I kind of found it. He was asleep." You know, it's funnier because of the voice. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah.
So you were
But
using this voice on this puppet at Scotland's.
so I transferred that into this because he looks like he should be, since he's like a dog and he looks tired.
Yeah.
I gave it to him, and I'm real comfortable with that voice.
Sure.
And then I did it with him. There's something that they did have of me doing, because I wanted to show him, because I did do that for a long time. I like when I told you about doing SME and then using puppets.
Yeah.
It's harder to do because you're not your voice, so you really have to think about what voice you're doing for what, because you're doing a different voice for you. But I think I did Ed Wynn for a little bit and then switched to that voice too. So it was, from here to this over here, and you got to make sure you can switch fast enough.
And the speed of the voices too is dramatically different.
Yeah, it is.
Ed Wynn, Pat Buttram.
So it's a different meter. Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
But you know what I did for a while as an act, and Dale Brown, he's probably not on here anymore. He's probably asleep. But Dale Brown at one point came to see me, and he said, "You're the only guy I ever knew who I've seen guys change, like seeing a guy after more than once, and he changed the voice of whatever puppet he was using to be different from his. But he said I never saw a guy change his own voice to be different from him. So I did that for a couple of years, and I think it's even on the tape that Liz Von Sagan has, where we did different accents. It's like an accent tape or different
Okay.
voices. But I thought that was going to be my voice, so I basically talked like Ronald Coleman all the time.
Yeah.
Like I would go up on stage. You don't know who that is, but
Yeah.
he used to sound like the Fruit Loops bird,
Okay.
Odie Coloni. So you're always, ah yes, how are you? Pleasure to be here. And now today, hello. And so I didn't say hi, I'm Bob Rumba. I would be like, hello, I am Bob Rumba. And that's how my voice was all the time. Yes, indeed. And it's cool, but
Yeah.
yeah, after a while, it drove me crazy.
Sorry.
Like I couldn't do it
Yeah.
anymore. I was like, I just got to be me. And then I noticed, like, I tried to pass it off when I would do readings for commercials. Like I would try to use that as my voice, and they said, Bob, just talk like you. And they liked my voice, even though I hate it, but they liked it because they said it sounded like Garfield. They think my regular speaking voice sounds like Garfield. I don't know where they get
Maybe
that.
the intonations. I don't. Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting.
I don't know either. I don't think it does, but they
Yeah.
did. I need
So,
more.
can you kind of finish the story and bring us home here?
Which
So you
story?
had
Which story was I into?
the dog.
Okay.
So you performed the
Oh,
dog at the Lands, and you really liked it, right?
I love that dog. Scott said I could probably make a dog like that, and I go, well, I probably have enough puppets, but I said I like this one, but I probably maybe would have sold it. I don't know, but it was used. It was kind of beat up. It was pretty worn, and also it had a fake arm on it around it, and you had to wear this one shirt that went with it in order to make it look like it, like it, like you were holding it, like, you know what I
Right.
mean? So
Yeah, it was because it was used at Disneyland for like walk around outside the
right,
Golden
I
Horseshoe.
guess, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So my thing was, I didn't like the arm. It made it look way longer than your own arm would be. Like I
Yeah.
felt it looked like I looked like one of the like the impossible. What is that? The Impossible Four or Fantastic Four, where the
Fantastic
guy could
Four, yeah.
stretch, or Elastic Man, or whatever. Like, that's what it looked like to me.
Right.
And I didn't like that, and I didn't like the idea that every time I used it, I would have to wear that same thing again. So, yeah, like the Axel Bird when he did the extension, he said you would have to have a sleeve made for that. Well, I had a black sleeve made. I had a beige sleeve made, so if I wanted to wear a safari outfit jacket, it would match that. And I had a white one, so in case I wear a white tuxedo jacket. So I had 3 different coats that I could wear with that bird and do it.
Yeah.
And that I like that. But the idea that you're locked into this thing, and I used to feel bad for Ken Lucas and his duck. He was great with the duck, and that was his main character, but he always had to wear that light blue jacket because it was the fake arm thing.
Right.
So he didn't have a choice. And in a show, he was in a show where at the end you had to come out and everybody had to wear white when you came out at the end.
Yeah.
And he couldn't bring the duck out because he would have had to wear a blue jacket. He just had to come out as him. I'm like, oh, that's sad because people want to see the duck. I have to be right back.
Okay.
You tell them about who you're going to interview next, and I'll be right back.
All right. Okay, so next, it's still, I've got some ideas. We'll be interviewing, which will be later on in the week, some younger vents that are killing it in today's world. I also have, I don't want to give away any names yet, so we'll kind of hold on that. And I'm also uploading all these to my YouTube channel, so people will be able to see them and go back, because I think what inspired me to do these is, of course, the quarantine right now, but then also the fact that when I was younger and I wasn't able to afford to go to convention, I would just scroll through all the YouTube videos that I could find on these ventriloquists and their stories, and Bob has been such an inspiration to me as a puppet builder and as a ventriloquist because I had seen him in Dumbstruck, which is a it was like a documentary centered around a few ventriloquists, and Bob had a little cameo in that in Dumbstruck, and so that's how I knew about Bob, and then when I won the Terry Fader scholarship to go to the convention, I got to meet Bob in person, and he was the first. He was one of the first people to buy one of my first puppets, and so he's got some of my newer puppets, which are much better. And um, basically, around this time, I had seen these photos that Bob was talking about of this dog that was built for Wally Bogue by Tony Urbano. And what I loved about the dog was it looks so cartoony. It's got this bright red nose. It's got these purple eyelids and bags, and then I mean, it looks like it jumped out of a Disney cartoon, which is what I loved about it. And all of my puppets that I build have their heads are usually a little bit bigger, but they've got a cartoony aspect to them. And so Bob and I had talked about it back and forth about creating the dog character. Um, and Bob really wasn't sure, and we had kind of gone back and forth about. You're back, right, Bob?
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay. So what was the turning point for? So we talked about in kind of talking about the creation of Speedy, little Speedy. What?
What was the turning point of me having
I
you
was
make it?
Yeah, yeah, because I was telling him about how I would drop hints, I could build that for you too, and I had built you stuff before, but you weren't really sure about it, and there were some details in it that you wanted if you were to have it built, you wanted to have it built right.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, Jet had been doing a lot of stuff for me, so she made one, but it sat upright, and I wanted it to be more dog-like. She made it more like a human being cartoon character than a dog cartoon character.
mm,
And I loved it, and I offered to even pay her for it because it was really well done. And but she knew I didn't want it to be like that, and she said it's okay. And somebody else bought it like that, so it kind of looks a little bit like this, and it kind of
yeah,
looked a little bit like the other one, but yeah, not there. And then you drew this for me too.
mhm.
She could draw too, by the way. If anybody has any, make her any
Yeah.
make anything.
She does some
She
great
has some great.
characters.
She has backup skills that people don't think about or know about. But
Yeah,
um, anyway, yeah. So you wanted to do it, and I kind of really wanted one. I didn't need it as bad, and I was also, I don't know what I was working on at the time. It wasn't foremost in my mind to have it done. In fact, it's one of those things because I got so many ideas and so many things I want to do
it was like one of those.
that yeah, you put it on the back burner and you go, I'll come back to it.
Yeah,
So I wasn't in a big rush, but you had extra time. You're ready to do it, and you spent time on it with me because you had time. Like Jet doesn't really like talking to people on the phone. She will to me every so often. She gets busy with us. She's busy. I think part of it is not to put anybody down, but I think when you're an adult at a certain point, it seems like your time gets less than when you're a kid
yeah,
because you have less to worry about. Like you're still living at home, so you don't have to pay bills, do you? Like
no,
you don't have to worry about the electric and all that stuff. So people worry about that, who's going to mow the lawn, all that kind of junk.
sure,
And so they have these other things, how to make money, blah blah blah. So basically, your whole life has been revolved around. I want to be a ventriloquist. You did that. I Somebody's making puppets. I want to do that.
yeah,
So you have become your whatever you wanted to do. You have done it, and
right.
you're still working like that.
I'm
So
still yeah, still building,
you
still doing shows. Yeah,
still building, yeah. And so when you said to me, Bob, I really can make that for you. You got to trust me. I can do it. And I'm like, Well, he really wants to do it.
I did say,
And I,
but that wasn't that. I think that was when I said, "Please trust me. I think I can do it." Because I had seen how much you cared about having this character made and how much thought you had put behind it, and it's important. The message, one of the messages here is it's important to have the character fleshed out and have an idea for it before you have the puppet made, or if you do it in reverse, be able to write for it and have the character made. But I
right,
really wanted to build it because I put a lot of detail and attention into everything in the characters that I build for people and for things that I build for my tables at convention. Yeah.
right.
So you had said I think we did something like how about you let me I don't know if it was you trusted me or if we worked something out where it was like I would build it for you and if you don't like it then I'll change it up and sell it or what it was. But
I don't remember how we got to that, but I do remember once we got there, um, and you let me, like, as it was in the process,
yeah.
since we could do this now, since we
What
could
is
talk like this and we could see what's going on,
mm-hmm.
I would ask you to change certain things and you would do it for me. You could go, oh, I could see that. And we created it together, really, then.
Yeah.
Right. That's so, and I knew it was mine. Like, I knew, like, and I also have a special kinship to Wally Bogue
Yeah.
because I just,
Yeah.
I always loved that guy, and he's really talented. But then I also had sets of parents, like show business parents in Chicago, that Billy Bishop owned a magic shop, and he and Ann Bishop were good friends of mine, and I was friends with their kids too, that
Mm-hmm.
were around my age. But the cool part of it was is they always sort of looked out for me, and then I found out later that Ann Bishop, when she was a kid, hung out with Wally Bogue. He gave dance lessons. He had his own dance studio stuff, and she took dance from him. And she said that he always liked her. She was like his little mascot because she was like, I guess he was quite a bit older than her because she was a kid
Uh-huh.
when he, yeah. Um, so she gave me his address, and I used to send him a postcard every year. And he didn't know who the piss I was. He had no idea who I was, but it didn't matter because I was a big fan of his. Like I just was. And then when that comes around to you again and you have this dog and you go, this is a great puppet. This is for Wally Bogue. You know what I mean? You're
Mm-hmm.
thinking that's why I have this kinship to it.
Sure.
And then when you made it, people have to realize that you made it better than the original one for me because when I used that in front of giving the voice lecture for the land for Scott Land and Lisa Land, when I ended up doing that lecture for them, they I noticed when I watched any of the videos or everything, or they would tell me you couldn't see the mouth. And I watched a guy on YouTube. Remember we both watched it.
Yeah, there was another
He'd
guy. Yeah.
yeah, there's another guy that used it. He had to tip it back because it was a different dog.
Yeah,
But
and that
the
was
way
the
the
second. Yeah, that was the second. That was like the backup for it. That was the
yeah,
backup
I
of
think
that puppet. And the problem was that the dog has this muzzle, and then it's got this small little. The problem is it was built too much like a cartoon, and that it has the bottom jaw was too thin, and it had this little lip, but you had to tilt it further back where you couldn't even see the eyes to move them out. Yeah.
no. So that's why if you see the guy carrying it around, it talks to him and it tips its head back like it has to talk to him like that, which
Yeah.
is sort of believable if you were carrying a dog. And if you did have to look at it and he's down
Right,
lower,
and if
they
you're
would.
talking to kids, it's like it's easier, but I guess it would work.
Yeah, if you're talking about like this, you're fine. But if he's lower, yeah, you would. He could sort of tip his head back, but
Yeah.
that dog had to tip his head back because you wouldn't be able to see the mouth to move.
No.
And they told me that when I sat down on their stage. What's weird is standing on a stage above everybody, and they built that platform stage in his studio for
Uh-huh.
us to work on, do shows on. When you stood on that and you're up like this, and people look up, they see it from the bottom. The snout's really big. You can sort of see the top, and they can see the teeth. They can see the mouth open, but you're like way above them.
Yeah.
And I wanted to see what it was like to sit down, and I was getting tired too, but I sat down and I laid them across my lap. And it's really cool because now you can talk and you can do as much of the talking as you want. You don't have to do the seesaw effect with dummy effect where it's like me talk, he talks, back and forth. I call that the seesaw effect because I think it gets boring after a
Right.
while.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
the same. I thought, wow, this is really cool. And I envisioned myself how to use it. So I'm sitting there and I would talk because I'm doing a lecture. So I would talk and then I'd have him make a crack whenever I felt like it. And his head I would pick the head up, he would talk and put it back down. And they said, I know it was Scott, he said, Bob, you don't even have to bother to move the mouse if you want to. You could just pick the head up and talk and put it back down. And I thought, well, that seems weird. Why would you do that? And he said, because we can't see the mouse. We couldn't
Yeah.
see it moving.
But it's interesting. You did that same thing that you had done earlier in your career with Oxy, where you would talk and do your thing, and then the puppet would kind of make cracks at you.
Make cracks. Yeah, it
Yeah.
is the same thing. Yeah.
I love
I
that.
also had an idea for years. It was too strange, though, and I don't know if people would have taken it, but I wanted a thing that was sort of like, kind of like a hedgehog,
Mm-hmm.
like that was round and it had spikes coming out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to do that so you had an arm that went around it, you carried it around, and then you could stick the head out. Like it would be, because hedgehogs roll up.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know?
So you could have him pop out, and you didn't know at what
Pop
time.
the head out, go back in, yeah. But no, I don't think Verna was making them anymore by the time I thought of that. She probably could have done it, but nobody else wants to even hear that story. Like
So a
they
little
didn't want
bit,
to think
yeah.
about you doing that.
So a little bit about my side of the project with the dog was that we had gone back and forth. And this is what I do with all of my clients where they commission a puppet is I do a few sketches till it's what the client wants, and then I pick out fabrics and I'll send them photos and get those approved, and then I'll build the puppet and then send progress photos as we reach certain progress points when the puppet's done in foam, when it's covered, when it's shipped, that type of thing. But we worked a lot on this, and because I really wanted to get it right for you, and I actually perfected this way of doing a mouth plate, and I had you send it back to me so I could fix. So,
Right.
do you have them here to show?
Yeah. The
Okay.
cool thing about that was, I remember saying that to you, where you go. I had trouble working the snout because it would slip after a while because it was heavy and it was long.
Yeah.
And you had made this gremlin. I love that gremlin, the mouth plate.
Yeah.
And you even told me, like, I had him here for a while to take to the convention for you because you didn't go last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I had him here to use him, and then I talked to you on the phone with him. You said you realized you had him on your hand for over an hour, and it felt effortless because it was so comfortable because you had a different lineup in there. So it's really cool. And then I asked you if you could. I said it's really too bad you can't do it on mine, and you said I can do it. And I didn't. I was really sad because I didn't want to make you feel like you didn't do a good job because I love the dog so much. But yeah, I sent him back, and you said you didn't mind doing it because it was an upgrade. So.
Yeah. Yeah, and it made it better. But the scary thing about it was that when you take the mouth plate, which is the inside of the mouth, first of all you're taking you're cutting you're untrimming all of the sewing that's done on the inside of the mouth, and then you're cutting off the foam that's glued onto the top of the head and then the bottom, and so you're redoing it. And I was able to. I think I had done it on a puppet before. Bob's going to get a little Speedy out, which ended up being bigger than the original. Which he can talk about that.
I'm doing it now while you're talking about
Yeah,
this, so you can still keep talking
sure.
while I'm getting
But I made an entirely new mouth plate, and the neat thing about this grip is it allows it to open wider, and it works really well on larger puppets because it helps with the puppeteering, and it forces you to use your thumb for the puppeteering, which is how you should puppeteer. So the top of the puppet's head isn't flapping up. You have to keep the illusion alive.
which I call the garbage can.
Yeah, which
lid.
is like
the garbage can that you press with your foot, and the lid slaps up. That's what a lot of people do puppets like. They're like this. Hi, how are you? and
It's
you
one of my,
can't.
it's one of the biggest pet peeves
Your
I have.
eye contact with people is you don't have it. You lose it because
And
you're
then another
on top of his
important thing,
head.
exactly. And another important thing is keeping the eye focus on of the puppet, tilting the head based on where the irises of the puppet are, where the eyes of the puppet are to you and then to the audience. Um,
Right.
is super important. So to study in a mirror and practice that. Jimmy commented. Jimmy, is it TK? I don't know how to pronounce. Yeah, your last name. Sorry if I butchered that. He said, "I need help writing material. I'm not a reader. I'm more of a hands-on guy. Like I like videos. Um, I would do. You know, I would. I don't know. What's
What
your
is he?
advice?
What is it? What is his question? Is his question about how to write material? Is
It's
that
how to
it?
write material, but he doesn't want to read how to do it. It's
Oh,
really. I mean, I would recommend the
well,
Gene and Linda parrot books, but that involves reading. But you're doing a lot of reading and writing when you have to write material, so you just kind of have to
well,
be able to do both.
the real way to do it would be to do improv, and as you're doing improv, the material is written for you. Then you have to remember it to write it down. But if you did improv, you would have that all done. So one way to do improv is to walk around with a puppet. You get paid, and that way you get paid to practice. The
Hmm.
other thing that is good for anybody to do, which most people, that's why they're ventriloquists. Some people are too shy to be on stage. That's why they're ventriloquists, because they want the puppet to talk. They don't want to do it.
Yeah.
They don't. They feel like it's not them doing it then, because they. So, but if you could be, if you're strong enough to do it as you, and do voices and do improv and take improv classes, then you could do it because you would be creating a character, and then you do like what I talked about earlier in this is when I was a drunk in a
Hmm.
show, and then I established that character, and then I took the thing that's all done already, and I had the reindeer made and
Yeah.
just moved
But
moved
but
the
what Jimmy
character into them.
what Jimmy said, he just commented. I was taught to just talk to the puppet like a friend. Yeah. The problem is you get in this what I've seen done is when you do that, it's just like it's a cheeky boy puppet, and you're just talking back and forth about it going to school or whatever, which is fine if that's your bit. But you have to create more of a personality behind it. And I'm also going to bring out this puppet because I want to talk about this. Right after Bob shows Speedy, but I had a voice that I saw this guy do. It was his normal voice, and I was able to mimic it. And I had done it, and it was such a funny voice that I wanted to use that. And I talked to Bob on a regular basis. He's like, "You should make that as a puppet." And we had gone through like 5, 10 ideas of what the thing would be if it was a puppet. Because we're like, is it an animal? Is it
Yeah,
a person? Is it a person in an animal costume? Is it a this? And we had, I mean, Bob had some great ideas, and the voice is so funny. And Bob ended up saying it should be a jackalope because I've never seen one done where jackalope puppet that was built where it didn't look scary. And so I think
right.
we ended up. It was like a
And
combination.
I always wanted a jackal. In fact, I even talked to Verna about it, and she
Yeah.
said I don't want to make one. She said that was the only time I think she's ever turned me down. She
It's
goes,
it's a weird
I
thing
don't
because
know.
either it looks
Yeah,
like weird or it looks more like a rabbit, which is what this one ended up. A jackalope is like a cross between a rabbit and or jackrabbit and an antelope. And I'll show him in a minute. But I created Jackie, my jackalope character, and he's been received very well. Go ahead and
who
show us.
create? Do you know who created that idea? The jackalope idea that came from a taxidermist.
Yeah, it was a taxidermist.
A taxidermist took a rabbit, like a jackrabbit,
Yeah,
and put antlers on it, so it looked real.
yeah,
But once he did that, it made everybody believe that it actually existed. So then people started all sorts of backstories about it. So by having that character, you actually had backstories done for you already. Plus, you had your own backstories, and then the voice made it. It was already built in. It was kind of built in before you made it, and while you were making it, you became one with the thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, it's really strong
If you can
character.
imagine the character as a cartoon character, which kind of harps back to that, and living in its own little world, then it's even easier to write for it and have it next to you. Because with Jackie, I can talk. He's like he's like Jackie the Jewish jackalope for my kosher shows. I use him in Cub Scout shows as this mysterious creature I found. But it's great, and I'll show him in a minute. But go ahead and
But
show
but
us.
who asked you the kid that asked you a question? He said, I talked to him as a friend. Well, you didn't just talk to him as a friend. Why is he your friend? Why
Exactly.
is that character your friend? Why does he hang out with you? Is he your friend? Are you related to him? Are you taking care of him for somebody else?
Does he like being
I
around
mean,
you?
yeah, like, yeah, does he hate you? Would he rather be someplace else and not with you? Is that why he's pissed off? I mean, you have all these different choices, and nobody thinks like that. They just go, "Oh, he's my friend."
Yeah.
So, how great
That's
is
why
that?
that's why it's funny. You
Do you ever
see
watch
people.
the news? You ever watch the news? How many things on the news are like all negative stuff? It's all negative, and they're all people complaining about stuff. Oh, my building burnt down, whatever, I got shot. Okay, all that. It's all negative. But you know what? It people watch that. So have you ever seen the news where they go, well, everybody's so happy today. We planted some flowers today,
Yeah.
and all the buildings are good. Everything's swell, and the weather's perfect. And I got a new tie.
I got a
Nobody
new.
does it. That's not normal life. So you have
Right.
to have some kind of conflict between the two of you,
That's
whether it's your
that's
voice
a great
conflict or
answer.
something else.
There needs to be conflict in your script. Exactly. For
Yes,
writing. Yeah.
right.
And what I heard from someone is write as if there's a few different ways to write, but you can sit down and write jokes with the wagon wheel where you have a subject and then you write little things associated with it and go from there. But then also to write it where it's more like a drama and you define the conflict and then you insert jokes in that help lead it to the climax of the bit. Um,
Right.
but yeah, so little Speedy is what you named him, and where did the name come from? Why is he Lil? Um,
Oh, well, originally he was Speedy because of that. Speedy Wheeler was Bob Isaacson's dummy,
yeah,
and when Bob left us, I wanted to. I just love Bob so much, and I wanted to do something
yeah,
in his honor, like so he would sort of like a piece of him will be with me all the time. So I thought I'm gonna name this dog Speedy, and because he looks like he's slow, so it's the exact opposite of what he is. And then my friend Judy Tenuta, who used to name almost everything I had for me, she says, no, he should be Little Speedy because he's huge.
not little, Lil.
Well, I said Lil because I like
Yeah, Lil.
Little Wolf, Lil, yeah, like
Yeah,
Lil, Little, yeah.
yeah.
But she said, yeah, he should be Little Speedy. So that's where it came from. So now he's like two opposites of what he really is in his name.
And what's great is this
So,
is the biggest soft puppet Bob owns. So you do two smaller puppets in your show, and then you go, please let me welcome Lil Speedy, and then you bring him out right now so they can see what the contrast is because it's really funny.
no way, you can't have this. You can't. We're talking now. You can't have this with you. Yeah, see, that's annoying when it does that. Do you understand when I'm doing it? Okay. Anyway, he's so big he almost doesn't even fit in here. I should back up a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, not really that big. I'm kind of big, but not too big. Yeah, well,
Could you have him look more at the camera? Yeah, more at the camera. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway, you smell kind of funny. Did you tell him about what we invented? No, I didn't, because I just brought you out. How would I have time to tell him about what we invented? Okay, we invented a combination dog mouthwash and toilet bowl cleaner. It's pretty good. Yeah, okay, thanks. Yeah, people, I understand where that idea came from. I'm sure. if they have a dog, I hope their kids aren't drinking out of there. No, no, hopefully not. There are kids that want to be dogs, though. Yeah, I know. I've seen that.
It's funny
Then
because
you dated some women they called that. Okay, cut it. Not really, Paul. You smell funny. Cut it out. Cut it out. Okay, so anyway, you want to what? What were you gonna say? Yeah,
I was just gonna
I
say.
interrupted you, and I am not sorry though, but I did. Sorry that I'm not sorry.
I love you had mentioned about the tongue and how it flops, and I didn't even realize that. But I had redid the tongue when I
Oh, when you
redid the
made
mouth
it,
plate. Yeah, and
yeah, and you put a longer tongue in.
I put a
If
longer tongue
I
in,
get
so
this
it looks
way,
like
how
he's
do I get
dancing.
here? So this should go this way, I think. Nope, this way. There we go. Now this is gonna there. I think that's better. Yeah, it
Yeah,
is. Well, you're on an angle now, so it looks like there's been an earthquake. But other than that, it's okay. Yeah.
yeah,
Anyway, yeah. So what happens is the way when you redid the tongue, it moves when I talk. So
yeah.
it looks like I'm really talking, which I am. Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
So
it's
yeah,
great.
it's kind of cool. Yeah. Anyway, I could have been out here the whole time, while you're talking about nightclubs and stuff like that. Yeah, all the time I could have been right here,
I'll
but
bring out Jackie
no.
because I was talking about him too.
Okay.
Hey
Nice.
all right. This is Jackie.
Yeah.
He's a jackalope. I'm from Wyoming. Like jackalope
Cut
state.
it out. No bar. He looks like I should bark at him. No, you shouldn't bark at him.
I'm glad I have
I
my
felt like it.
horns. They're antlers. Oh.
It's like the other thing when you go, squirrel! You know what I mean? It's kind of there.
I
I
think
get
my great
excited.
aunt
Sorry,
was
you
a
could come in.
squirrel. Are you part squirrel? I don't know. I had an interesting tail. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Um
You're a nut. So, yeah.
Yeah, but so Speedy was based off of the dog built by Tony Urbano for Wally Bogue, and Jackie was built off of Brer Rabbit and what else? Inspired by
Ricochet Rabbit.
Ricochet Rabbit. Yeah,
Ding,
right.
ding, ding. Yeah. So,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
And
I mean, neither of those characters, most people don't know who they are. Like, Song of the South with Brer Rabbit is Disney doesn't show that at all anymore, and Ricochet Rabbit. I don't know. That might still be on the Cartoon Network or one of what is that? What's the Hanna Barbera one that they still show Hanna Barbera like a lot of old Hanna Barbera
oh,
stuff on?
boomerang.
Boomerang. Yeah, it might
Boomerang.
Ricochet Rabbit might be on
Oh,
there.
boomerang.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. Hanna Barbera would do their three. They used to do the famous one cartoon, then a different cartoon in the middle, and then the real, like in Tom and Jerry, it'd be like Tom and Jerry, Droopy, Tom and Jerry.
Mm,
But now they started doing three cartoons, and they would be completely three different cartoons. So it'd
sure.
be, yeah. So what happens is a lot of times if they got a new show and the one cartoon was doing well on another show, they'd move it to the new show so more people would watch the new show because they go, oh, Ricochet Rabbit's been moved to this one. I
Right.
want to see that cartoon and then find the new ones. It's sort of,
But what's neat is
it's
what's
a
really
trick. Yeah, it is.
it's a lot of fun. Yeah. I like cartoons. That's great. Kind of look like one. Yeah. You don't look like you've gotten. You
Kinda.
don't look like you've gotten much sleep, Jackie. Yeah, neither of you. Hey, all. All right. Um. But yeah, it's really neat how the character the process through the character creation, and I love how you have him sit on your lap and how you can have him come back to life, and that's what's great about the bit is the audience is waiting for that. Trying to look at the comments here. Damian James. Oh, so basically, Jimmy said someone else.
How long have we been on? What time is it now?
We've been on 2.5 hours, but I wanted to get to this point.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sorry that did I talk as much as Joe? I hope not.
No, you talk more. But it's good because I got
Yeah.
it in half.
Damn.
We're not
Yeah.
getting out awards, but if we did.
Yeah. I'm in
Ah,
the Guinness World Book. I'll have the longest interview. It'll be like Peasy's 3.5 hours, but he has like 4 people. So
yeah. But so Jimmy said someone else said for the puppet to make fun of me for singing Elvis. So Jimmy is an Elvis Presley impersonator. You should get the Axel donut and do a bit with that as the
does he? Yeah, that was
no, but
my
you
idea
should.
before. I wanted to do it as a puppet show. I wanted to do the Elvis, that fat Elvis, and then have donut backup singers.
Yeah. Yeah, you could have
That would be
you could have
so
a plate of
funny.
donuts, have the Axel donut on top of it, then have like a little chorus of donuts pop out of the side. But yeah,
Yeah, I would
that's
love that.
but that would make you more marketable too, is because you're like this Elvis that's also a ventriloquist with like this characters, and it's not just you don't. Yeah, I would combine them. I mean, it makes you different from all the other Elvis impersonators. Yeah,
Yes.
makes you unique. Right? Like I am the world's only jackalope Elvis impersonator. You don't impersonate Elvis. I do now. Okay. Hey all.
You can't stop once he starts.
No, I'm
Whoa, you're
only
doing other songs. I watch you, Jackie. You were doing other songs on here.
I also sing, songs from Dirty Dancing and one from Forrest Gump. Forrest Gump, yeah. I
Yeah.
do
And
retirement centers. They love that
too
stuff
sexy for my antlers. Too sexy for my
there.
antlers. Too sexy. Yeah, that one.
I wish I could take them off, but I think they're super glued. Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
I think you glue them in there yourself. You grew them. Didn't you grow them?
I did. Yeah, they're a little mangly right now. I haven't gone to a barber lately.
That's because of the virus thing. You can't leave.
Yeah.
So what? Who can you go to
That's
get
a
your
good
hair?
question.
Yeah, you should get that question answered. Why?
Yeah.
You need a haircut real bad. You should be doing Edwin all the time pretty
You just
soon.
hide your hair under your hat. Yeah, yeah. Seems to
You
work.
can sometimes, but it seems to stick out even.
Jackie, maybe you could get a hat to hide your antlers. Well, I'm proud of that, who I am. If I
There
get a
you go.
hat, people
That's a
think
good
I'm a
idea,
rabbit.
that. Now you're talking.
Yeah. I could go incognito as a rabbit. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, so it's really the reason why we got these guys out is to show it's really the character creation process and what it is to define a character. Are you define me? Yeah. Well, I'd like to say that I have various hobbies. That's fine. I don't like to be defined by you. Well, I've got my own definition for you. I'm sure
You
you do.
said defined, not defiled. You said
Oh,
defined.
oh.
You
Well,
get
that's
it
good.
mixed up.
It's hard to hear when you got antlers in front of your ears. Yeah. What? I blame you for that. You're right. You built me. But yeah, so it's really neat. And wrapping up here, you're gonna wrap up. Yeah, it does. It takes practice and time. Yeah, you've got
You
a
don't
lot of
want to
time
stay on
now.
for another 2 hours? Yeah.
Oh my God, we could go for a world record.
Yeah, world record. I'm sorry that it took this long.
No, it's
We
fine.
shouldn't even talk about how I started in show business. We should just get right into talking about different things because I don't think people care that much about how I started in show business, really, personally.
I don't. Jackie. Why?
Yeah, I was right. So you're that kind of guy. I'm redoing this again. It's slipping.
No, but I definitely think it's I think it's neat. Damian James said, "Love the stories, Bob." Bob.
Oh, that's nice.
In wrapping up here, I have a question for you that I like to ask all the people that we do these lives with. Haven't you only done this with one other person? Yes. Okay. So I'd like to ask
Well,
you.
he's gonna do other ones, Jackie. He'll do other ones.
Yeah, I'm going to interview other people. All right.
Eventually,
Uh,
eventually, he will.
Eventually.
Eventually.
I love that. Rudolph over there has a point. That's a dog. It is? Yeah. Why does he have a red nose? He's cartoony. Oh, you've got a
It's
red
not
nose.
really red. It's kind of a little bit red. A little, not much.
What color is my nose? Is it pink? I don't know. Is it like a magenta? I don't think so. I just like saying
It's
magenta.
like a gay. I think that's a gay kink. I think your nose is
It's what?
gay.
Oh.
A gay kink.
Bob, you need a tight
What?
leash on Speedy. Yeah,
Yeah, you gotta slow down.
he, he's
You'll be all right.
barking at me. I feel personally attacked. I wish I can
You're
I
all
do
right.
that?
Calm down.
Yeah, that's
What is it?
what was
You
that?
hiss? Is that what you do?
Yeah, I can hiss. That's a jackalope hiss. A jackalope hiss. All right. Okay. Uh-huh. That's what we do as jackalopes. That's how we scare people. Right.
He learned that from the snakes in the desert.
Jackalopes are actually very fierce creatures. Yeah, totally break a nail. Okay. Um. So Bob, yeah. I'm talking to Bob. Okay. All right. Bob, what is something that you want to see from the future of ventriloquism and from the future of vents?
To advance it more by having a ventriloquist with his own show, or I want to see him more used more on television or other places where they're out in the open, so that people know what they are and are used to having them around. So it becomes more normal, actually. Like
Yeah.
not just like stand-up comics or singers. There's how many singers do we have now? How many shows do we have about singers?
Oh yeah, there's so many.
Right. So, or dance competitions, but
Yeah.
do you have a ventriloquist one? No. You know,
Right.
why do ventriloquists win on America's Got Talent all the time? Why?
I don't know.
There
Why
are
did
any.
ventriloquist win on America's Got Talent? I don't think that's
There's
a
not that many. No, there isn't that many.
that's the punchline.
So
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I love that.
there isn't. Are
Yeah.
there? No, there's not. You're right. So yeah, there's not that many. So wouldn't you like that? Wouldn't you like to be able to watch a show every week, like when Jay Johnson was on Soap on a regular basis? That was a great thing.
It was.
When Sherry Lewis was on PBS, she had her own show. The ventriloquist was her own show. There you go.
I was on a
So,
Lunchables commercial. Different jackalope.
oh,
You sure? Yes. Okay. Yeah.
oh, what a Lunchables?
Uh-huh.
Did
Yeah.
you? Wow.
They had a commercial with a platypus and a jackalope, and they were like best friends because they were both like random combined animals. And I
Oh,
guess Lunchables, that's what their thing was. They're like, it's a combination of all of things that don't go together, which seems weird if you're marketing something to kids, but I don't know. Um, yeah, okay,
well, that's because in a Lunchable they have things that aren't the same. You get a cracker and a cheese and a meat. They can go together, but they're not the same thing. And then you get a cookie, right? Yeah, I guess so.
yeah, like a single Oreo
You watch
cookie.
a lot of TV. You watch more TV than I thought. I'm just laying around. What do I got to do? Come in, watch TV, go out, go to the bathroom, come back in, go out, come back in, drink out of the toilet, cut it out. Well, yeah.
Well, this has been a fun almost 3 hours. I can't wait to edit it to 15 minutes. We're not going to edit it to 15 minutes. You're not? No, we're going to keep the full length
No.
because people can find out everything they need to know about Bob Rumba. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, if you know what, really, this is long, so if you get bored and you're watching the thing of this, just go to where they have the mountains, like the graph thing, and just move that little line there. Just move her up till you find what you want, or we get to a better subject or whatever you want. You don't have to really watch the whole thing. We would like it if you watch the whole thing, but we're not going to make you do it, right?
Gina Meter said the secret is Bobby Lunchables.
Bobby's Lunchables. Well, I kind of do like Lunchables, actually. Actually, that's like what's his name that does Elvis. He probably does too, because Elvis liked fried bologna and stuff.
Oh. Oh,
Yeah,
see, it's
think
not
about
just
thinking.
doing an impression; it's a lifestyle. Yeah, I guess so. Wow.
Yeah,
Does anyone have any
that'll work.
questions for Bob or for me before we go? We can answer this one while we're waiting for people to comment questions. But do you prefer soft puppets or hard figures, and why?
I like both actually because I like this trade-off, and I also like them for the audience because I like the fact that it teaches the audience the difference between like these two things exist. And
Also,
if it was up to me, I'd have a Mariette or something in there too, like a something else with strings because you don't have that.
who's
Teaches people
Mariette?
different puppets. A
He
mar-
meant he meant
a
Mariette.
marionette, a
Oh,
marionette.
why would I
It's too
marionette?
late. You don't know how to talk anymore. Yeah,
What?
I know how to talk.
Why would I
You're all
marionette? I barely know her. Yeah, okay. Hey all.
right.
All right. Yeah, yeah. It's neat, and I think that's really I think that's really neat because they learn an appreciation, especially the kids. They know Slappy, and they love the hard figures because they want to always guess how it works, and it's kind of like a robot, but it's kind of not. And, um,
Right.
Jimmy said, "I'm starting to think soft puppets are easier and more fun to play with." I think they're easier if you don't want to hold a hard figure, but there's a lot that you have to do to keep a soft puppet alive. There really is. And it's important just to spend time in front of your mirror, or even watch a show with a soft puppet and have it comment on things, just to get the character down into practice. Right? Do you have any tips, Bob?
Yeah, I do the mirror thing a lot. I also think that a soft puppet is easier to transport if you have to take them on an airplane or something. If they throw your luggage around or whatever, you have a less chance of having it get wrecked.
Yeah.
You know, it's a little more durable. It's easier if you have to have one replaced. It costs less. A harder one is more expensive.
Hmm.
But I still like having both.
Yeah.
You
Smith
know.
Henderson. I love Smith Henderson. Yeah, I like saying that name. All right. Smith Henderson. All right. He said, ask Bob about meeting Senior Wences and working at a midget bar.
Oh, um, Senior Wences filled in for Jeff Dunham when Jeff was went back to school. So in Sugar Babies. So I was in Florida at the time, and so I went to Sugar Babies and I got to go backstage and meet Senior Wences and talk to him. I think I talked to him longer than I needed to, but I talked even into Sugar Babies because I such a big fan of Senior Wences.
Oh, wow.
He is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Sammy King likes him a lot too, just because he's not the same act. He's not soft hard. He's whatever. You know, he has his own deal going on. So
Yeah.
he does have a hard one. He has the Pedro, the head in the box, and he has Johnny. That's
But he's
the
also
hand.
not even that,
And,
but he's got his own style, which is neat. I mean, you've got your own style, but like if when you
yeah,
do it enough and you figure out who you are as a comedian and then the puppet and you develop your own style.
he's also a juggler. Also,
Oh, really?
yeah, he does that plate. Tray. He takes trays on sticks. Do you ever see him do that?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's a form of juggling. So
Gina commented, I find puppets are made for men's hands. My hands slip out of them easily. I don't know what puppet you're referring to. It usually depends on the elastic. A lot of people use elastic on their puppets. And
yes,
it's just how tight that is or how tight you can have the puppet custom made to fit you um through a
just
consultation.
like I am. I was made to fit, right? Yeah, you were. You're made to fit my hand. Then you sort of sweat into me. That doesn't sound
Oh,
good, but
that's nice. He's nice and slay. All right.
no. After you wear them for a while, since you put leather in there for me,
Yeah.
I think that leather.
Yeah, I put leather inside the grips of my puppets for where the grip is, and there's a
Yeah,
bar in leather. Yeah.
yeah. So because of that, he's like perfect for walk around because you keep it on for a long time. But after you wear them for a while, then that goes more fitted to your hand because of the natural sweat from your hand. Not that you're like dripping sweaty, but even small moistness goes into the leather, and it more conforms to your hand.
Yeah.
So you're making it even more for you, even though it's made for you to fit your hand, but it's also even more so after the use of it.
That's a great
Because of the
commercial.
way. Except it's too long. Yeah, thanks. And you got to talk faster. You got to talk like Joe talks. He talks fast. Yeah, he does. But I think Joe was an auctioneer at one point.
Yeah.
Or one of his parents was. Yeah.
Yeah.
He probably was talking when he came out, when he was born. He was
Oh,
already talking.
an idea I had for Ann Seton. I think she bought the Barry Gordimer puppet that was like a fortune teller. I always thought it would be funny to have a fortune teller that you can't see what she's holding, but she says she's holding like you assume it's a crystal ball, and then you realize she keeps giving you these like vague answers, and then you pull it out and it's a magic 8-ball, like signs point to yes, and then it like gets more evident. I always thought that'd be funny. Gina Medler I finally found one that it fits. Yeah, it's great when a puppet fits because it's easier to puppeteer. You can puppeteer it for a longer time. Jackie's his mouth is smaller than Speedy's, but he's got a broken mouth plate, so you can do a lot of different. I can act like I'm chewing gum. Yeah, right.
Well,
And
I was going to have a smaller one made, and Scott Land was the one that said that I think having it be big is what makes this dog the way he is. So
it makes a little special. Yeah, makes it different. Right. Yeah. So
makes a big difference, 'cause I am more lovable. Right. I always loved the girl who said, because of him being Little Speedy, the little girl that said, he's Little Speedy. Does that mean he's gonna get bigger? Like her eyes had to be like, so funny.
So what? Peter Valentin, is that Valentin? Is that right? Said Bob's puppet looks like one of the Banana Splits characters, Feagle.
Legal?
Mm-hmm.
I guess a little bit. Yeah, a little. I guess those are mascots, so they're big.
Yeah.
Paul Winchell used to do the voice of Fleagle. He sounded like Knucklehead Smith.
Oh wow.
He could be a little bit like Drooper. Drooper was supposed to be a lion.
Mm-hmm.
Who did that voice? I think Alan Melvin again. And it goes on and on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, great. Do you have any closing remarks you'd like to share with our audience before we go?
If we were talking too long, I apologize for both of us, all four of us, whatever. And
Keep the illusion alive.
Yeah, and the other thing is that, well, Landon and I were here once. It was two. Then we added you guys in, so I guess it should be four. That's
You're welcome.
But yeah, it takes longer with more people. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, thanks for being with us today. And you know what? We both really believe. I don't know about you. I don't care. Really, yeah, but we both in a time like this, you know, we like spending the time with you, and it really we want to not just be here talking to each other, whatever, and giving out information, but we like having something for you to do besides watch a television program, whatever, and feel like spending time with you. And so, if I get to see you outside of this show, or at the convention, or just in person, or after a show sometime, you know, feel free to come and talk about that. And if it whatever, it's just nice to be with you now. And we want to know we love you, and we'll look forward to seeing you again. You don't know when you're on again. You are on again with me on Monday, correct?
Yes, we will be doing we'll be showing some of your cartoon cells, which are celebrities.
Yeah, like the guest stars that were on Scooby Doo, and guest stars that may had their own cartoons and all that kind of stuff. So,
yeah,
pretty cool. So that'll be different for you. That'll be Monday at 2:00 Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah,
and your Central Time will be
Central Time. What is that? An hour earlier.
That'd be 1 o'clock. I was trying to make it look like we actually knew what we were doing, but okay.
We don't. All right.
So, yeah,
that's
no, we
our
don't.
nightmare. It's chaotic. So,
Nice try. Yeah, thanks.
to close this broadcast, I'll now sing a song. I'm okay. Closing time. Every new beginning is like some other beginning's end. That's great. Thank you. I know who I want to take me home. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. It was a lot of fun talking with you, Bob, and seeing Speedy
You
and
too.
hearing your story. You're an inspiration to me, and I always love getting to chat with you about ideas and characters and voices. So thank you guys, and thank you guys for tuning in. And for those of you watching on YouTube, when this is later uploaded, make sure to leave a comment on your favorite part of this video, and let us know if you enjoyed it, and give it a like. All right. Thank you guys, and I hope you guys stay safe during this time.
And arrivederci, ci vediamo.
Adios, guys.